I can never find it.
Morning, Kelly. Are you on?
I've asked her to unmute.
Looks like she did. Can you
Yep,
hear-
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you feeling today?
I'm good.
Good, good, good. So we got the recording thing all covered, sounds like.
Yep.
Very good.
Where do you usually sit?
Have either of you gotten the results back from your COVID test?
Good morning, Penny. Are you on? I think she's joined with audio.
Are you looking for?
Penny Logue, yeah.
Yep, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, yep. So you are going to join us via Zoom, obviously.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to be here in the commissioner room or not. Somebody had asked me and I said, I don't know. So,
Oh, I suppose I could come over. I just figured it would be safer doing it this way.
yeah, no, that's fine. I just did not know what the plan was. So thank you, appreciate it. So we'll get back to you in a little bit. Thank you, Bernard. Will come to order. Let the record show that today is November the 18th, 2020. The time is 9:00 a.m. Commissioner Canada, would you do the honor and lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Deb, are you going to do that, or Kelly?
I just don't know. I can do it. I don't know.
Deputy Clerk to the board.
I'm good. I can do it.
All right. Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flower,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here.
Commissioner Prince,
Yeah.
Attorney Clint Smith.
I am present.
That's good. Board Assistant Kara Evans
Present.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to have to deal with our attorney today. He's got him a couple of candy bars over there, rat holes, so he's acting pretty smart. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. We'll forego audience introductions because of the Zoom call. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
I have those.
No.
Nor do I. Thank you. Approval of minutes. We do not have any commissioner items. Gentlemen, you may.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Just a couple little items. One is at the airport, a couple things, good progress. Tower's been ordered, parts are coming in. They're still planning the 13th to be operational. The concrete was poured for the pad out there for the fire truck to drive over without breaking. We've got an AWOS frequency, the Air Weather Observations Service radio frequency issued to us. And we've been reimbursed for all the expenses so far, so including that $176,000 bill.
Good.
The SIP also, I entered the SIP, their capital improvement plan with the state for the next 10 years, based on what the board had given me. And we have a meeting tomorrow I'll be going to out there to tell them all the news. And I got a small issue with our RFP that we have with Silver Cliff, and I'm going to talk with Clint and Buck about it. The RFP was fine. We went through it legally and all that, and they have in the first couple paragraphs the coordination numbers with Silver Cliff, including the zoning guy or Roger Camper. And there's some mistakes in the RFP where they had included things like the county zoning would be involved, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to straighten out that and see what effect it has on the RFP. Maybe we might have to do some changes.
And that RFP is for the sale of the property that's in Silver Cliff.
Well, it's for the, no, I don't know how it is. It's just the, I gotta look at
Is
the
it
RFP.
for developers?
It's the RFP that went out on the street
Right,
for the housing, yes.
yes, to buy the property. And
Right, and do their thing. And so it just wasn't coordinated the way it should have been. So we'll see what that does. With Charles, I'll meet with Charles and Buck here at 1. Now, is there a task force meeting at 1? That's when Buck,
When is that?
at 1 to
Tomorrow?
today.
Today?
So Charles said that they had a window from 1 to 2:30 or something, but when's the task force meeting?
3:30.
Is it 3:30? Okay. Anyway, that's what's going on that front. We had a board of health meeting yesterday, thought went well, and more to come. We agreed to have a meeting with the Board of Health once a month on the mid-month, after mid-month Board of Commissioners meetings. And what I'll do, I'll be posting that meeting soon. So if you all have some other things you want me to add on the agenda before I put the agenda out to you guys, I'm going to have a couple things on there already that we discussed in that meeting, and then we'll go from there.
What day was that?
24th.
Okay.
Can
And,
you shoot us an email requesting agenda?
Yeah, I will. I'll send that as
That'd be
well.
great.
Just giving you a warning.
the housing is 1 o'clock here in this room?
No, I'm going to meet with Buck and Bogle up at the town hall in Silver Cliff.
Okay.
And I gave Clint the hard copy to take a look at, and we'll discuss it with Clint afterwards. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Commissioner Prince.
All right, thank you. On the 16th, on the 6th, I attended the budget meeting with the sheriff, coronavirus meeting on the 10th and 17th, tower meeting on the 12th, and Board of Health yesterday. That's about all I've been up to.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, so I'll go through some stuff and then I'll go through my calendar first. Let me get that pulled up. Let's see, on the 10th, I attended the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee meeting. Also on the 10th, attended the Republican Central Committee meeting. They met in the basement of the county building. November 12th, attended the Economic Development Corporation Zoom meeting for the broadband towers. The 16th, attended another broadband tower meeting with Mark Carmel from Carmel Group, fleshing out some details about the 2 projects that we're working on, one being the fiber project and then the other being the tower project. So 17th, attended the Board of Health meeting, as you both have mentioned, Coronavirus Relief Fund meeting yesterday. And so that's basically my calendar. I also want to announce that Ms. Kara has submitted her resignation as our administrative assistant effective December the 4th. So we will.
She lasted 10 weeks longer than the last one we beat up.
We will move forward.
I miss you, Kara. Thanks.
I
Thank you
would
very
think
much.
that by consent, gentlemen, can we give Donna some direction and get that vacancy
Posted.
announcement posted? And
Absolutely.
I will read her resignation letter. Is the voice level all right, Vern? Okay. I feel like I'm muffled, so. To the commissioners, please consider this to be my official letter of resignation as the administrative assistant to the county commissioners effective December 4th, 2020. I am venturing out on my own and starting a home health business in our county. I'm very much looking forward to the next chapter of my life, but it is bittersweet to be leaving the courthouse. I have very much enjoyed my time here and have learned so much from working with each commissioner. I appreciate the opportunity you gave me and the learning experience this position has provided. I will miss everyone in the courthouse that I was able to work with and get to know. Thank you again for the past year and a half. So Miss Kara, our thoughts and prayers go with you as you start your new business venture. Thank you for the service that you've given to the commissioners in the county. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
I agree.
And then, as we know, CDPHE contacted us yesterday and announced that they are moving Custer County to the orange level on the dial for the state. That becomes effective November the 19th at 5 p.m. I would assume our public health director is drafting a press release to go to the public to indicate what that will mean. So, yes, sir, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but have we put that chart on the website that shows the colors from blue all the way up
Right.
to?
I asked Dr. Brown to do that, and he hasn't done it yet. He didn't have
Okay,
to.
well, I would strongly urge, since we're bringing this up now, to get that done ASAP. So people understand what orange and yellow and red, all the different colors mean.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then I just wanted to, I was hoping, Brian Lockhart's not in the hallway, is he?
No.
No,
Okay.
not yet.
I was hoping he would be here. He is coming today, so I just wanted to mention that we had a complaint about, an individual complaint about the landfill charges. So I thought maybe if Brian was here, we could at least ask him if he's aware of that, and if not, forward him that email. So,
Is he planning on being here?
yeah, he told me he was going to be here today. So that's all I have. Anything else under commissioner items? Go ahead, sir.
The only thing I'd like to suggest is, after a conversation with Vern yesterday, that we ask Donna to add to the job description video and audio running of the meetings. I don't know the proper words for that, but just to add that as part of what we would hope this new person would do.
You're thinking to free Vern up some, that's the idea,
I'm sorry, sir.
to free Vernon up from
Yes.
some of the responsibilities.
Yeah, Vern and I were talking that this is really not a wonderful use of his time. We meet often, and he sits back there when he could be doing his job.
Right.
And if the admin assistant could just kind of take that over at the same time, that certainly makes a lot of sense to me. It made sense to Vern, and I hope it would make sense to you guys
Sure.
too.
It's one of the duties. That's
Yeah.
great. And then Vern can train him up.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, I understand there was some grumbling at the Central Committee, Republican Central Committee. I had to leave. I had another commitment at 5 about us not meeting, or not allowing the public to come in our meetings. And obviously, moving to this orange level compounds the issues about us having to vote mutual. I don't believe any of us are thrilled about this. I certainly am not. It's not a preference, but I think it is the right thing to do, given the circumstances of the COVID. So I just wanted to mention that. That's all I have. Yes, sir.
I will have real angst if we allow the Republican Central Committee to dictate whether we have people in here or not. This is.
Nobody's allowing them to do
Excuse
anything.
me. This is a the best we could do under an exigent circumstances. And I feel it's important that the public is invited, but I, for one, will not allow a lot of people in a room.
Yeah, I mean, I've sat on 2 other boards and we're meeting virtually, and for the obvious reason, I mean, they tried meeting live and
I'm just not.
just didn't work. I just don't think we're there yet. Hopefully the minute we all agree that we're there, we'll go back to operations as normal, but I just don't think we're in a normal situation today, so. Strategic plan, anything?
I have nothing.
I got a revised graphic from Cheryl, and I'll pass that. I don't think it was addressed to I think it just came to me, so I'll make sure everybody gets a copy.
Okay.
Then we'll plan on meeting right after the first of the year. We may have a tag up with Cheryl just to check base on right mid-December time.
Okay, coronavirus relief, as we reported, we met yesterday. I thought I would go over those numbers for the record. We were granted $434,769 to distribute in our county to offset expenses incurred due to the coronavirus. We have to date disbursed $287,858 through that committee's work. DOLA has reimbursed the county $205,819 and leaves us a balance to disperse within our county of $205,000. Sorry, that is not correct. Let me read. Just a second. The balance is $228,949. I transposed some numbers there. So Kelly, do you need those again?
Yeah, I do.
So we started at 434,769.
Okay,
We have distributed 287,858.
okay,
DOLA has reimbursed us to this point 205,819.
okay,
And we have a remaining working balance of 228,949.
okay. That was the only one I didn't get.
All right. And
Thank
then, you bet. And then Braden Wilson is getting ready to submit another reimbursement request to DOLA. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Jeff.
I just did the math, not
Okay.
because I don't think you're right, but if it's 434,769 minus 287,858, you have a balance to distribute of 146,911,
Okay.
unless I'm missing something.
I pulled these figures off of the worksheet we had at yesterday's meeting. I didn't bother to add and subtract those. So you believe the balance is one?
Just erase
Oh,
it.
that's all right.
146-ish. 140, yeah, I could, let me get it again. I'll give you the right number.
I can go back and pull up that other document too if I need to.
434,769
Yeah.
minus 287,858 leaves a balance of 146,911.
46, 9, 11. I may have pulled the wrong figure off of that sheet then. Kelly, did you get that? A balance of 146,911.
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Unless I'm missing something.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen, on the CVRF?
I think we're looking pretty good and a lot of participation. We'll see what happens between now and when it's time to shut her down.
It's a great program. I'm really happy we could help people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so far we've injected $287,000, almost 300 grand into the county. I think that's pretty huge.
I
So
do too.
Attorney items.
First of all, I'm so choked up about the news of losing our administrative. I'm not sure I can get through this without bursting into tears, but
Take a minute and compose yourself.
Compose yourself,
Be
Clint.
patient.
I wrote a number of letters for Jackie Hobby. I see she actually attached them to her report, so you can see what I did there. The lawsuit that I filed against the individual who has his own unique system of disposing of human waste is the return date on the summons is next Tuesday. I haven't seen an answer yet. He had sent me an email a couple of weeks ago saying he wanted to address the board, but I kind of think it's out of the Board of County Commissioners' hands at this point. I attended the Board of Health meeting yesterday. I prepared a proposed agreement between the BOCC and the owner of Westcliff Meats. That's an agenda item for today. And I did my COVID test last Saturday. And I want to report that I am positive that I'm negative, but I haven't
You're
gotten.
positive, are you positive you're negative?
I'm positive I'm negative, even though they haven't confirmed it yet. So
Is
that's
that,
my report.
is that diagnosis a self-diagnosis? or-
Yeah, well, I took my temperature today. Thanks, Callie, for making me go do that nose swab.
Anytime, Clint.
Yeah, she means that
You
too.
got the results back pretty quickly.
No, I haven't.
He hasn't gotten it.
What's your own?
It should be today.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good deep nasal swab. to
Yeah.
get your
Clear the
name
air
going.
ways.
Yes,
As
go
a,
ahead.
as a first responder, this is actually my fourth
Wow.
test I've taken.
You're kidding.
Yep.
Yeah, and I also had a test taken on Thursday, my first. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday in the Board of Health meeting. If for some reason I was to come back positive, I decided I'm gonna go right back and have another test done. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with building my life around the results of one test.
Right.
And I really think that would be a wise decision for a lot of people. But, you know, it's personal choice, no doubt. So, well, good. I'm glad you're positive about some things, Clint. We need good positivity around here.
That's the end of my report.
All right, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. That, we don't really have any other choice, gentlemen. It's on the agenda to see if the administrative assistant has anything that she'd like to say today.
I bet she does.
She probably does.
Well, I wasn't preparing to speak today.
Oh, you weren't? Well, you certainly have the opportunity if you like.
I'll prepare something for the 30th.
Or for the 15th and 16th of December, or
Yes.
after the 4th.
More away.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sure we can count on her joining some Zoom commissioner meetings after the 4th and giving us her unedited opinions about things.
After January 12th, she and I will get together and watch the meeting.
In
Oh,
Belize? Are you gonna be in Belize?
It's
We will be in
possible.
Belize.
and we can control whether people are muted or not, Vern, is that right? Because they
They
can watch.
unmute them.
Oh, they do? You can't override that?
I can mute them, but they unmute
Oh,
themselves.
heck, okay.
We will have
Well,
a lot to say.
so you two may have something to say, all right.
Sir, we might.
Yeah. All right, we'll move into public comment. If you have anything you'd like to address the commissioners about that is not on the agenda to now would be the appropriate time to do so. Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Staff report. I tried to call Jackie to see if
She just walked out.
Okay.
Jackie.
Right, I wanted to be you and Emma.
You're good, you're up. Oh, good. That's right.
Good morning. How are you?
Here,
Yes,
here.
Probably here.
Further away you are, the better, Jackie.
Yeah, that's what I,
Foley.
thank you.
Kind of Halloween. I
It's
meant you, Jack.
Thanksgiving.
Pardon?
It's Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving. Oh, you're looking very Thanksgiving. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
It's been going. Did you get my email? I sent you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
I just wanted to clear with the other commissioners before I said that.
Okay. Pull up your report there real quick. It's interesting that when it came time to the report, the attorney left the building.
I know, I find that very rude. Are we making Kelly a pile?
Can,
Yeah.
put it on her table over there.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
She's thinking of her.
How about if I put Kelly's pile on this table?
Yeah, somebody's thinking about you, Kelly.
Now, this is a different letter than we got
Yes.
previously. I'm going to put one I got previously up.
Is this to replace the one we got
Yes.
previously, or?
So I just handed out a new letter from Westcliff Meats to everyone, Kelly. And when we get to that part of the report, you'll hear what the letter says. She not listening?
Yeah, she just muted. Okay. All right, so the floor is yours.
Okay. The Custer County Planning Commission held 2 workshops to address the short-term rentals and other corrections that need to be made in the current zoning resolution of 2018. The public hearings were held September 28th from 1:30 to 3 and September 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. The Planning Commission took the input from the 2 public hearings and have redone the zoning regulations and will hold a workshop in the month of February and 2 public hearings after the workshop. We do not have any meetings in January. It's just too iffy to have that many people in that courtroom during this COVID, and it's not worth it. We've waited this long to get the regs. A couple more months is not going to hurt. So that was a decision that we made. Laura Ippolito resigned as a zoning clerk, and an ad went into the paper on 11/12 of 2020, and it stops at 11/19.
Can I ask you a question before we go any further?
Yes.
About your first paragraph. I sat in on one of those hearings and partially of the second hearing. I wonder if, and these February meetings will probably be held in the courtroom as well.
Yes.
That's your plan. I wonder if it's an issue, if you could set it up where people could come to the first hearing and then not come to the second hearing to make room for new people to come to the second hearing. Does that make sense?
You would think that would be the logical, but in the realm of the whole thing, people don't want to do that because they want to hear what goes on at the next meeting in case they miss something.
Okay. So it's overcrowding has not been an issue, you don't feel?
No, they have the tape
Right.
on the thing, but we went from, the most we had was 30 people and we had them in family groups and they were distanced. But then the governor asked, or someone said that you should limit them to 11 at a meeting, 10 or something.
Yeah.
Well, there's no way that that would ever happen in there because I told him it was limited space.
Right.
And then I could stop him at 10, but there's no use of getting everyone riled up before we even get there.
Right. But I suspect I know where you're going, so go ahead, sir.
Well, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Pardon?
I was going to go somewhere else.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
This is primarily about the short-term rentals, is that correct?
Correct.
Right. And you and I spoke about it, and I complimented planning and zoning for putting this off. This is not, I mean, we've lived with this for an awful long time without a regulation for the health and safety of people coming into that room. Putting it off for another however many months maybe middle of next year, we'll have vaccinations and we'll be safe. So I just want to tell you, I commend the Planning and Zoning Commission for making a decision. Let's just stall this. It's not an emergency. We haven't had it previously, and we'll handle it when it's a safe time to do it. So I thank you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll have to see how things go, but under the new orange level restrictions, you may be limited to 10 people.
Yep.
And see, that's the deal also, because I have 7 board members, 3 alternates. So I did say my last SUP meeting, I can only have 10. So I need everyone to email me and see who's coming, and then the rest will have to be on the Zoom.
This is for the February meeting, right?
No, this is for the SUP in December, but I'm waiting and see if it's going to continue.
Sorry.
But so we have mechanisms in place to limit the people, because I limit my board, I limit my alternates, and I figure 2 people come in for their application. So we keep it limited that way.
I would suggest also that you talk to Dr. Brown and see, this is government business, it's not an event. Let's see what if there's some other thing that we're not aware of, and see what can be done.
But it's fine now,
I know.
because we're not going to do anything till February. We don't have
That's
any
fine.
meetings in January, so let's see what
Are you having a
February.
problem with your SUP meeting?
No,
Okay.
not at all. No, so we're good. Uh-huh.
Good report.
Okay, and then, do you remember, I don't recall a date and I didn't look it up, but Mr. Lloyd had, wanted to come in, and I think he was on the Zoom meeting concerning his neighbor. And at the time, the property owner was a previous property owner, and it was complaining about the structures being too close to the easement.
Right.
And it
There's a
basically,
boulder in the way.
yes, and actually the boulder was not the problem, it's the 2 structures. So, and then he complained about his entrance not being wide enough.
Right.
Then it came to find out that it was 2 neighbors that obviously weren't getting along. So then it was decided, if I remember correctly, that since they were going to court, that we'd see what the court said. Well, in the meantime, Mr. Lloyd came into my office and applied for some building permits that he did not get on his own property. So,
And he'd already bought.
You mean ones that
They're
are
already building?
Yes.
Got the permit. Okay.
correct. So he said that after he was looking at the zoning, that he realized that he had not permitted 3 structures. So obviously the court case is still going on, but the new owner had no clue when he bought the property until a month later that there was even a lawsuit. So now the new guy is in the lawsuit. So the new guy came in and he would like to apply for a setback variance. So this is an easement road that goes in this property, and by our zoning resolution, you have to be 50 feet from that easement road. But I think there's a provision, and I can't find it in our zoning resolution, but he owns on both sides of that easement road. So I looked at the house that was built on that property, and they went from the property line, not the easement road. And it was my recollection, and maybe it needs to be tightened up, that if you own both sides of that easement, yes, you have to be off the easement. You can't be sitting on it, but I don't know about 50
Maybe the
feet.
setbacks don't apply.
Yes, that's what I was wondering because, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Keith Hood or Vic about the situation because it's a long drawn out situation that you have to start from the beginning. But remember Shannon Easton, when he came in and he purchased the original permits, we went from the property line instead of the easement.
Right.
Well, Mr. Lloyd, since he came in and now he's just gotten permits that he was in violation for. He just got those 10-2 of 2020. Then he calls his ranch Heaven's Gate. And his name is, oh gosh, Mary, what is his name? Apologize. Anyway, it goes by Heaven's Gate. His property, the new owner. He would like to get easement. And so he filled out the variance for a setback away from that easement. I do believe that we do this on good faith. I gave these permits to the previous owner, Easton, on good faith that he had correctly put down everything and it was partly my fault. I'm asking if you will give Heaven's Gate Ranch 2 variances.
2 variances, one for the garage.
One for the garage and one for that first outbuilding that you drive to. You know, when you drive. Okay, so.
Which is a shop barn combination.
Okay, yes. So I was wondering if you could speak to the fact of what your situation was.
I can. Go ahead, Jay. You had a question for Jackie?
Just my question was, just because I was a little confused. The barn and the house, are they within the correct setback that he needs the variance, or are they not?
No.
I know he wants the variance because he hasn't done it. He wants the variance because he did this off the easement, not the lot line. Is that correct?
Yes, the previous owner.
Okay. So
This-
this man is really innocent. He just
He did.
inherited a nightmare.
Correct.
Got it.
Which I guess is going to be the point I would make. I drove up that road. I'd never been up that county or subdivision road before. So I thought, well, this has already come to the commissioners once. I'll just drive up there and look. And it's kind of interesting. I did not realize this initially, that the current owner of Heaven's Gate had nothing to do with the construction of any of those buildings. They were already there. He just bought the property.
Got it.
And I didn't realize that. I thought that the garage was something that the current owner had built, but not true. It was all those structures were there in place. And I'm kind of glad I went because it gave me a different perspective on that entire subdivision. You drive up a road a little ways and then come to a log archway that we're all familiar with. And then that road goes on up and goes right by the new owner's buildings and forks. One goes to another homeowner back to the west. And then the other one goes to the Lloyd property back to the northeast. And so those are the only 3. I'm sorry. And there's another homeowner there on the way to Lloyd's property on the left. And as Jackie has told us initially, none of the other landowners have any issues with this road. There were a string of boulders that basically separates the easement going back to the Lloyd property from the current owner's front yard. And so there's more than one boulder. There's 10 or 12 of boulders down through there. I didn't see that they impeded anything on the easements at all. They're 10, 12 feet off the edge of the road, which is really nothing more than a driveway.
Right.
And so I ended up bumping into the current owner of Heaven's Gate. I said, who maintains all these roads? He said, I do. I said, you maintain the driveways for these other properties? He said, yes, I sure do. I said, okay. Snow removal? Yep. He said, I remove the snow and maintain the roads. So just from my perspective of what I've seen, I just don't see that there's a big issue. If anything was impeding ingress and egress, then certainly I think, it'd be a different situation, but those are normal looking driveways. The one easement going to the property in the back, of course, is close to that garage. Nobody's disputing that, but it doesn't impede anything that I see. So
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
Jackie, what is your recommendation to us?
I would like you to go ahead and grant the 2 variances, if you could, please, because I think this is a situation that just started snowballing. And when I get to the February meeting of the resolution, I will make sure that this is spelled out better. That if you own both sides of the easement, that you don't have to be 50 feet away.
So just to be sure, before we approve this, if we do, is there anybody opposed to this that needs to be heard before we make this decision?
Yes, the gentleman up the street, that Lloyd, that brought the complaint.
So I'm hesitant to approve it without having his comments.
And so I have a question probably for the attorney and yourself. Are these the variance applications you've got there?
Yes,
So he has applied for a variance
I had him come in and do the paperwork.
for the 2 variants.
Does it, Claire, does it clean up the title on it?
There's no title that I know of.
So
I don't.
They never went through it when he bought it.
I have no idea because that's none of my business. I just do the,
That'd be a title search on the real estate side.
yeah. But see, this is what,
And wouldn't Kit Shy have you were asking about whether the setback was right or what?
they already had a survey.
Yeah,
They got the survey already.
Both of them had surveys. So based off of Mr. Mullen,
I'm surprised that this issue didn't come up when he purchased the property and the title search and looked at that.
so,
What's the objection? Refresh my memory.
so
Why,
the
Lloyd?
objection is Lloyd was in lawsuit against this one building and the archway. Didn't say nothing else about the other building. But after they got the survey, then they figured out how close they were.
So the new
But
owner got
Lloyd-
sucked into the lawsuit.
Yes, but let me tell you another factor in this. The other factor is, yes, the BZA usually does this, the setback variances. That's part of their job.
Right.
But it also has been brought before the commissioners to do it when you got a zoning person named Jackie who allowed it.
Right, and you allowed that based on the application you were given. You don't
Yes, sir.
normally do a site visit, right?
No,
Okay, you take them at their word. If they tell you this is locations, that's what you go with, okay. So I was gonna ask a question of both you and the attorney. The last time this came before us, we kind of deferred because it was in litigation. Would we be, I don't want to say irresponsible, but would we be jumping the gun a little bit if we grant these variances while this whole thing is still in litigation? Should we hold off on doing that, or you think it's appropriate to consider these variances now?
Is it necessary now, Jackie? Why is it urgent now?
I don't think it's urgent right now, but it'd be good to just get this cleaned up. And they keep putting it off, and then they're going, last time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, the judge told him to handle it,
Work it out.
work it out. So then Mr. Lloyd went to a higher, I might be wrong, but then he started all over again. And it's almost like everything else, there's got to be an ending.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about jumping in the middle of this with looking at two variances while they're still in court over the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the issue is in the pending lawsuit, so I mean, we don't have to, we can follow our regulations and do whatever you want to do regardless of what the issue is there. I'm not sure without taking a look at the lawsuit. And I don't have my copy of the zoning resolution, so I don't know. I think setbacks just apply to property lines. I don't know that it applies to easements that go across property.
And I think you indicated you're going to try to clean that up before you finalize the amendments to the resolution, correct?
Correct, because I think that it's a matter of interpretation, because they're hanging their head on that easement. You have to be 50 feet away from an easement. Well, yeah, that does in the zoning resolution, but it's always been my understanding that if you own on the other side of the easement, you still go from the property line instead of the easement.
But that won't in effect us approving an SUP for this. It's already.
No, it's not an SUP.
Already.
It's setback variance.
That's what I meant. So to me, it doesn't, but maybe.
So we actually named the barns. The first barn that you come to is barn number 1. He is 10 foot away from that easement, 10'6". The second one is barn number 2, and the neighbor, like you said, uses this way, and she doesn't have a problem. And he's actually, one little corner is really close because that barn kind of sits like an angle.
Right.
And then Mr. Millen, the new owner said, I'll move those boulders. I don't like those boulders. So he doesn't like the boulders anyway, because we all know they look cute until you have to weed eat around them.
Yeah, they're cute for a while.
Yeah.
I've got another question on the plat of this subdivision. These roads are drawn in on the plat, right?
Yes.
And what is the width of the road?
I think it's 30.
They're 30 feet on there.
30 feet, okay.
So Jackie, tell me again, I kind of went off track there when you were talking about this variance setback. Normally handled by the Board of Zoning Adjustment?
Until, when you apply for setback and overheight or anything like that, then you would go, this is prior to the building being located. So now we got another circumstance because Jackie went ahead and allowed the buildings to be constructed. So it put another layer on it. And so Jackie's actually in here telling you, I believe that it was right. I believe that it would be the thing to do because it would just be the right thing to do.
So why isn't the BZA doing this? Because that's normally pre-construction.
Correct.
They
And it,
handle it for
correct. And I'm
pre-construction.
coming to you
This
as,
is post-construction.
right. And I'm coming to you because it's post-construction
Special.
and yeah, it's a
So we would
special.
not be overstepping the bounds of the BZA if we considered these two setback variances today.
No, correct.
Okay.
You
It's
talked
been,
to him about it, you know? Did you say you're gonna talk to Keith or something?
no, that's about another subject.
Okay. I'll get mixed it up with that.
No, it's about the,
Okay.
So
All right.
my concern here is, I'm not having an issue with this, except there is an individual, Mr. Lloyd apparently, who is opposed to us approving this. I think it's only appropriate to hear what his objection is. I feel like a judge, and I don't want to be a judge in this kind of thing. You know, here's one side saying this, one side saying that. But unfortunately, that's the position I'm in. But I would like, and maybe I'm missing the boat here, but I feel like if there's someone in opposition to it, we're hearing only one side. It's,
but we already heard his side.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
We already heard his side.
He was on the Zoom call at the last time we addressed this, but we weren't discussing the setback variance.
Right, and he's opposed to setback variance.
Well, we don't know if he's opposed or not, right? Has he
Oh,
voiced any
no.
opposition about these two specific variances?
No.
Correct, okay. So I
I
wonder if,
misunderstood that. I
yeah.
thought he was
but to
opposing
your
this.
point, I wonder if it would be part of our due diligence to inform him that we're considering these two setback variances. If we approve these setback variances, as I understand it, then the new owner can take those to the court and say, I've been granted variances for these, so what's the problem? Is that right?
His
Okay,
objection isn't that, is it? It's where that road had to be moved, if it had to be moved, something, if I remember.
his objection is just that the building is too close.
Close. And they didn't want to move the road.
And we approve this.
We would be saying it's
That we
okay to have
would be- we
them.
would be resolving this lawsuit, or at least interjecting into this lawsuit, intervening into this lawsuit, saying that we're, and Cliff, please help me if I'm off base here, but we should be making this decision.
Could I ask Jackie if she'd step over to the court's office and find out what the status of that lawsuit is? It set for a trial, or do you know, Jackie?
He said that February.
Okay. I would really like to see exactly what the issue is, what they're suing for in that lawsuit,
That's right.
so we don't step on somebody's toes here.
Okay. Well, and I agree with Commissioner Trent. I think inadvertently even, we would be interjecting in the middle of this litigation between these two property owners. I don't know that, but that's my gut feeling. It's like, well,
What was his beef? Is it, I know it's the road, the variance on the road, but is it by feet, inches? What was his issue?
Yes, because he says
It's all
it's
within-
not within the setbacks of the easement.
That's all his issue.
it's supposed to be 50
Which
feet.
is how-
Look at all those.
Yeah.
Those are the new ones that the other property owner took out.
I see.
One garage is supposed to be 50 feet, or at least he claims it's supposed to be 50 feet, and it's 17 feet. So
Yeah.
To me, common sense should rule the day, but we don't get to live in that world sitting here at this table. I've seen the property. You would look at it and say, is this impeding egress and ingress, and then make a decision based on that? Well, we don't have that luxury. So I just am a little concerned about us jumping in the middle of this thing while they're in court. That's
Yeah, I
all
don't
it
see
is.
a reason not to wait, Jackie, really. We can wait it out.
And then if you truly believe that we're not overstepping our authority onto the BZA by even considering this, then I'm comfortable with that. I was worried about that too.
Okay,
In
Those
light
are
of this
the-
about these, 'cause
those
I've
are
never
the
seen-
neighbors
Okay.
that just came in and got.
That's the
I
variance.
guess my point is,
Permits.
if I, would, I don't know.
Okay.
I won't say.
I have no idea what this is.
These are the ones that the Lloyd that he had to come and get
Oh,
They
okay,
were
permitted.
all
already
right.
built.
These are the ones that he had to
Get
come in and
themselves
apply
built.
for. Got you, okay. And they were already constructed.
Yeah.
You did issue those permits.
Correct.
Okay, all right, got you.
Okay, so let's hang off and I'll talk to Heaven's Gate and maybe I'll just tell him to tell us how the lawsuit goes and then we'll revisit it in February or March.
I think that's appropriate. I don't necessarily have a big issue with the variances, but I just don't think the timing is right. That's my
I
problem.
have major concerns about us getting in the middle of the lawsuit. We would be entering the lawsuit basically as intervener because we're making a decision over what they're litigating. We have no business in there, in my opinion.
Okay, oops, thank you.
And I'm not saying that once the court makes a ruling, then we could do whatever we feel appropriate.
Okay. Good with that, Jackie?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Do you want to move on then?
Yes. Okay, so the next thing is Bull Domingo. Bull Domingo had some concerns about two buildings. Mr. Smith, the attorney, has written two letters. The first one, I'm sure that Mr. Smith has told you about, and it's actually in your packet, is concerning a well house that was erected. The well house did not need to have a permit. The neighbor called and said it was too close to the property lines. And that's another thing that probably should be put in our zoning resolution. Because I've never had a complaint about an undersized building too close to the property line. So basically, I sent Mr. Hitt a letter, and then he came in and I said, okay. He said, it's a well house. I says, well, most well houses go by the well. Period. And so I didn't think much of it. And then Bull Domingo, homeowners association and the neighbor got excited and stuff. But okay, so then the next one was a structure that was built that was over height. So the structure on the south side, and this is doing it crudely, I took a laser and went from the door jamb to the pitch of the roof. Okay, which is easy to do because I can bounce that beam off the pitch of the roof. So in my
Peak of the roof.
yes, the peak of the roof. Okay, so it was 20 and a half to the first pitch, peak of the roof.
30, wasn't it?
No, wait a minute. And then we go another 5 feet. And then I had 6'8" trusses on the ground. So I was getting up there. So in my brain, I figured they were 32 feet and there should only be 30. Okay, so now they put the roof on. And so I went out there and I could estimate that, yes, they were a couple feet over on one side. But on the other side, they were fine because of the backfill. Okay, so then their father came in and he said, how can we make this work? And I said, take out the man door on the basement part, come back in and fill it up.
So they had a walkout basement,
Yes.
and you recommended abandoning the door and then filling in that. is What was probably.
Okay, so when I was out there the first time, they had dug it out. So imagine that that's your man door. And then your ground is at least 2 foot down because you're gonna build steps. Okay, so right there is an easy solution. And the solution was take out the man door because I looked at their foundation and they could backfill that foundation higher up and still not be but this much underneath their windows. So it wasn't like they were circumventing the regs. Okay, so this is where the president of the HOA came in and him and I sat and I said, everything is a situation. But along with the situation is also a solution. And I'm not in the business to go in there and remove, say, you got to take 2 foot off your roof when there's an easy solution to fix the
You
problem.
would do that if there wasn't any other options, right?
I would have to do it.
Yeah.
But on this situation, no. So in the meantime, there was a lot of back talk. And I did not realize that HOA out of Bull Domingo was not happy with my decisions. So I got 3 or 4 emails from the president of the HOA and basically was told that I am circumventing the zoning resolution. Okay, in my estimate, yes, I might, but nothing's ever black or white. It's almost like this easement. Yes, we'd like to think that our regs are black and white, but we also have to use some common sense. And we're not in the business to cut everybody off at the kneecaps.
If they would have built it that way in the first place with a basement that was dug deeper, it wouldn't have been an issue.
No, but the sewer line was the
Because
problem.
you're not circumventing.
So the sewer line was a problem, but that's a builder issue.
Right.
I'm just at the finish thing.
Yeah.
So,
That all the point I was trying to make.
so my point is yes, we have a zoning resolution that states you can only be 30 feet tall. But we also have an area of making sure that, in my perspective of having this job, is not to make it so difficult on people that their finances go down the hill. And what is it hurting? We don't have a problem with it, and no, you wouldn't get a variance. We don't allow, there's no variances for over height, period.
It's a variation.
But I am not circumventing the zoning resolution. And yes, I did get ticked. I got very, very mad. And Mr. Flower took the brunt of my mouth. And I apologize for that because he just happened to be,
We're still,
he just happened to be
In the way.
the target.
let's take a quick time out. You had a question, sir?
I do. Couple things. First of all, when he built the structure, it was incumbent upon the person who put the structure in to determine what the regulations are, and he violated them. Okay, so that's one. So he's not lily white, and we're not just going to cow down and help him. However, on the other hand, what you said is exactly right. If we can find an amicable solution to a problem, let's find it. And if removing the door and whatever you suggested, I didn't really follow. I don't know what a man door is, but it doesn't matter. I'm not answering.
Only men use it, women have another.
As opposed to a dog door.
It didn't matter. I was thinking just sliding for animals. I don't know what
Just a
we're talking about.
regular exit door from the
Okay.
basement.
Whatever. Okay. But the bottom line is there is a solution that'll bring him into code. So while he should have followed the regs, I'm not opposed to what you suggested. In fact, I compliment you for what you suggested. It solves the problem. And I'm sorry if the HOA, 2 feet is what, about that far? If the building is that far over site, I mean, too bad. I mean, it's not like because you have a solution. If you had no solution, you'd be saying, I'm very sorry, sir, go get out your chainsaw, cut off 2 feet of your roof.
Which
I mean,
has been done in the past.
It has, but you found a solution that'll work. So I don't understand what the problem is,
So
but I just wish this guy would have paid attention, whoever owns it, and done it properly. I'm sorry.
go ahead, Clint.
Well, I think you probably have seen the letter that I wrote to the president
Yes.
of the Bull Domingo POA, Property Owners
Property owners.
Association, which is the same as an HOA, explaining that there is a remedy through small claims court. If they're not happy with what Jackie has approved here, they can pursue it if they want to. I looked at their covenants actually say 25 feet. So if they want to, make an issue of this,
That's that problem.
I would recommend that they do that. I mean, it's much quicker, frankly, than us taking this on. So that was my I haven't heard anything back since I sent that email to the president of Bull Domingo POA.
So I have a couple questions. I believe in the past, the 30-foot height was from natural grade. But
Okay,
that's no longer the case, correct?
okay, but in the past, it was 25,
Or
30,
25 feet.
25, 35,
Okay,
25, 30,
Okay.
sorry. But you had to have a benchmark.
right.
And we looked at the benchmarks and what a surveyor would come out and do a benchmark. And so I don't know if you've ever seen a benchmark on a piece of property, but I'd like to see anyone figure out what the height is from a benchmark. Because you better know what you're looking at because you got 4 or 5 different heights. Okay, so we could not get that. And so one day during a planning commission member, I said, tell me how tall this house is. Okay, you make a rule, you better know how to figure the rule, period. So they decided that 30 feet would be great. Okay, I know what happened to this house. They put the sewer in to go to a temporary home, and either the sewer line was too low and when it came in, or too high, well, something happened, so they did this. But they brought in 4 feet of dirt and we're good to go.
So when you say they brought in 4 feet of dirt, you mean to backfill in front of the abandoned
Door.
exit door
Mhm.
on the walkout basement?
So we have no doors, there's no walkout basement.
They already built it.
There's 2 windows, they fixed it. I'm happy, I'm good to
Raise the
go.
lower grade up so that from that point forward, he's not.
Because my point was, it's no longer from natural grade, it's from finished grade. Right?
Correct.
It changed.
So it's sloped.
No, it's flat.
It was flat?
There's very little slope.
Oh, okay. Makes a
Uh-huh.
difference. So they made a mound.
So now they dug in too deep.
If you're on a side slope like that, that's.
No, that's
but,
totally different. And that
So what they
changes.
did, they just raised the ground up around it like a dome and made it higher than.
They just they dug out to make that sewer line. And then if they'd had a slope, they would have been perfect.
That's right.
If they'd have flipped the house where the pitch of the roof was not going north and south, the pitch of the roof was going east and
Long
west,
Measure from,
they would have made it. But you can't just flip a house.
So 2 things. I appreciate Clint bringing up the point about the HOA or POA. Absolutely not our issue. They want to take that up with him for violation of their agreement. That's their business, not ours. Ours is a zoning regulation. So I guess my question is, since you have resolved it, is there an issue to us or is this just kind of explaining to us where we are?
I'm explaining to where you are, and I'm also going to move on to the email that you got.
Before you do that, to me, Jay,
Sure.
I agree with you. The bottom line is, they got a 25-foot rule. That's what they're gonna be going to court
It's their
over.
problem.
Or from our point of view, 30 feet is what we have jurisdiction over. We don't care what the homeowners do. But
We don't.
if they want to make it
enforce.
worse, then fine, then that's their issue. Let them deal with it. My view.
Okay, so obviously, this little Scottish girl was ticked. So,
it did that with me.
you know, and so, right after I left here, I had a customer come in that I had sent a nastygram to stating that she did not get a permit for one of those containers.
Yeah, we saw that.
And so she apologized. She said she didn't do it purposely. And I gave her the permit and she says, how much would it have been? I says, well, if you'd have got a permit, it would have been 60 cents. But since you didn't get a permit, now it's $1.80.
How big structure?
It's an 8 by 20. It's one of those containers.
Right, okay.
160 feet.
Okay, so she
that's
said,
$200.
is there any way that you can, it's a 3 times the charge.
Oh.
Is there any way that you can let me have it for 60 cents? I said, no. I said, because I don't want to circumvent our zoning resolution. But I said, if you want it for 60 cents, why don't you write a letter to the commissioners? So that is where
That's
you
how
got
that came.
this.
Thanks for dumping that off to us.
Appreciate that.
Score.
All right.
So at 160 feet,
Times 3.
times $1.80, correct?
Yes.
3 times the normal amount because she put the structure up without having it permitted.
Well, she moved it in, yeah.
She indicated into the email that she sent to commissioners that she did not do this intentionally. She had no other issues prior to this, right? First time.
Oh, no, she's not a habitual.
She ever, is it obvious that the containers need a permit? How did she miss it?
I think a lot of people miss it because I think they think that a container Containers have always been my issue. I think they see a container rolls in on a semi and they dump it.
It goes away.
And it goes away. So they're not really actually building a structure.
Right.
It's instant. And so they don't know. So I have been really laxed on people with containers because they're not purposely, if they were habitual at it, yes, then you would get the post fee, but these people aren't.
So I ask a question about that. Do we have a precedent set for doing what she's requesting?
Yes,
Okay, so we've done it in the past.
yes,
Okay. And you believe that it was just an oversight on her part?
yes.
Good.
So I'm back to my original statement. I am not in this job to cut people off at the kneecaps. I do believe people basically are honest and they try to do the right thing. And when you answer my nasty gram right away, and you're not skirting me and not coming in and answering the letter that I gave you, I believe that you are an up and up person. I believe this person should pay for a permit, but I would like to see her pay for a 60 cents instead of $1.80.
And that's your recommendation to us?
Please.
Do we need a motion to that effect?
Yeah.
Okay, I move that we allow, is our lady's name?
Stepanik.
Stepanic.
Okay, we allow,
Stepanovic.
I'm sorry,
Stepanovic.
Stepanovic to pay as if it was an original application at the rate of 60 cents as opposed to with the penalty.
So the pre-construction rate of 60 cents.
Pre-construction.
I second it.
We moved and seconded to assess the property owner a pre-construction permit cost of 60 cents a square foot. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Flower. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
How long ago was it applied for or not applied for? How many?
And I can
She
easily
did it
see this
easily,
happen.
quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
She came back as soon as she figured it out, right?
She came back as soon as she got the letter.
Right, and you found out about it. How long had the container been there? And
I have no idea. It's just one of my drive-bys. Okay, so let's skip to the FYI. Instead of giving you
Now, you don't
20
know what FYI means. I do not.
for your
your
information.
No, I mean, do we have a document about what you're going to talk about?
No, yeah.
What subject are we
All
on?
right.
Okay, we're gonna skip to the bottom and then we're gonna go back to Westcliff Meats.
Okay.
I send out, I find violations and my clerk usually writes the letter. Okay, so between October, mid-month and November, we sent out 21 violation letters. And so I did not give those to you because most of those people run right in and who wants the extra paper?
Sure.
So if that's all right with you, I'm just gonna give you the letters from the county attorney because he's the only one that really matters.
Yes.
What are you trying to get into?
Charlie, put that in the minutes, please.
Oh, funny.
Got that one in. Okay, so now let's go to Westcliff Meats.
So before you go
Okay.
on, I concur with that.
Okay.
Just me speaking, I'm not speaking for the other commissioners. I concur with that. That's just your normal business. I don't need to see every letter. If an issue like this one comes up with a container or the roof height, then it's a different story. So I personally concur with
Yes.
that. It's up to the other commissioners if they want to see it or not.
Okay, let's take time out here for a second, catch our breath. The agenda, the third item on the agenda is dealing with
Westcliff.
an SUP violation.
Right.
This was.
You
your
want to
staff
talk about
report.
something different?
This is my staff report.
All right, go ahead.
I'm done with my staff
Oh, you're
report.
done with your staff report. So this is not part of your staff report.
No, this is
You're
our,
getting ready to talk about Westcliff Meats.
This is
That's
our
on the
year.
agenda.
this is your next agenda
No,
item.
it's not.
You're way down in the bottom.
You gotta go away and
Take
come
a
back.
seat if you want to move forward.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm very serious.
Oh,
Sorry. Okay, so that completes your report.
Can I come back then?
You may come back or you're welcome to stay.
I think I would rather go.
We will certainly,
We'd rather have it that way.
we will alert you to when we're getting close. Fair enough. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Miller's still gonna be here, right?
No, he's gonna be on the Zoom,
Oh, okay.
him and his lawyer.
All right.
Yes,
gotta
they
make-
requested to take a 3-minute break, no longer. We'll, a substantial number of people on waiting for us to get to these agenda items. So without objection, we will be in recess until 12:15 or 10:15. November the 18th, 2020. Gentlemen, any unfinished business to come before the group?
Not for me.
Nor do I.
No, sir.
We'll move on to new business. As we go through the agenda on new business, we will allow public comment prior to the commissioners voting on any action items today. So you will have an opportunity if you so desire. First item of business on the agenda is a presentation from the Tenacious Unicorn Ranch regarding the recycling effort that they want to bring forward. So with that, Penny, I will turn the floor over to you. Mr. Brian Lockhart is in the building. He's not in the commissioner's room. He will be coming in.
He's on his way, Brad, back over.
Thank you, Vernon. So if you want, we can wait until he's in the room, or we can go ahead and get started. Your choice, Penny.
Oh, I'm good to go now. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we're just proposing, because of the turnoff in recycling services and the county just not having kind of a reasonable place to go, we're saying that we can step in and start picking up those services December 1st. What it would look like is one pickup station initially, at the landfill. And then as we kind of build, we would go from there. And we would just take over the pickup and shipping out of those recycled goods collected at the landfill and other sites later on.
Can you speak to the collection point at the landfill, what that would look like?
For sure. We're going to build at our ranch. We'll build the collection point. We'll do that. It may actually be bigger than we thought because we might be like adding on plastic and we might plan ahead for that. But it's basically just going to be a wooden built structure. We'll anchor it to the ground because the wind is just crazy, with removable structures or removable bins inside, and we'll collect the bins and replace them. It's just easier for us because we're doing it out of a truck as opposed to like a bigger dumpable vehicle. And then, yeah, there'll just be little slots that you put the recycling into at the front, at about chest level. So just user friendly.
Okay, question from Mr. Prince, Commissioner Prince, go ahead.
Is it okay if I call you Penny?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Have you spoken to Mr. Lockhart at the landfill about where this would go, the size it would be, and worked with him to make sure that it's not going to impede in any other landfill efforts?
Yeah, we sat down together and had a meeting about what this would look like, how it would best work for the landfill, and where would be like kind of the most convenient spots and everything. We sat down and they're fully on board. Like I feel like we're going to work very synergetically together.
Hey Penny, this is Brian. I'm here. Yeah, we did. We came up with basically where the old bins were is basically where we're going to do it if we do it. So
sounds great.
Yeah.
So who's gonna pick them up?
Can I follow up?
All right.
They will. So you know, if we do this, then they will come and empty those carts as necessary. And I mean, the landfill employees will not have any, you know, part of this. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like the previous bins.
Go ahead, sir.
And Penny, if you would please, I know you already know this, I'm just reiterating, but the county recycles cardboard. Excuse me. What commodities will your recycling program take, and what will it not take?
So we're not licensed or set up to do any hazardous materials. And we feel like the plastic is kind of going well right now. So what we will take is aluminum and tin, glass of all color, and paper, everything short of the cardboard. The cardboard will remain at the landfill.
Okay, great. And is there
and small electronics.
Small electronics. And will there be a fee to the county for doing this?
We had talked about matching what the previous company was charging. I believe it was like 60 cents per capita.
It's 96 cents per capita we're paying to Upper Arkansas for recycling services. So.
And we would be offering it at that same level. We're you know, and then with what we're looking at, anything beyond what it would take to just kind of run our employees and maintain equipment would then go to the landfill. We don't need profits from this. Like, as long as our employees are getting paid, everything else can go to improve the landfill and eventually go to improve the facility we're hoping to get a grant to build so that we can do more recycling here as opposed to trying to ship it out.
All right, Mr. Candy, anything?
Just a little confused. Did you say you take plastic or it was not?
We don't as of yet, but we want to be prepared to take that on. There is we don't want to take away the donations that the health center gets from doing that plastic recycling.
Okay.
So
and
as soon as we can kind of figure out something with them, we'll take it over if necessary.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just curious because the other company did not take it
Did not.
here. So the matching funds are correct.
Right.
All right, cool.
So I have a question. It's actually a concern, and I think you will address it, but I want to get it on the table. So these carts that would be inside of your building, you would come and pick those up, put in new carts, take the full carts back to your ranch?
Yes.
Okay. And then what about containing the recyclable material once it gets to your ranch so that we don't end up getting issues with that material blowing onto neighbors' properties, et cetera?
Yeah, for sure. We look pretty long and hard at that, especially with the wind up here. So we have trailers that are enclosed trailers that will be storing that we'll be keeping the amount that we're storing in, and they're completely enclosed. So there is no blowing away. And then we'll be doing weekly runs, so there won't be any tonnage stored at any given time until we get an actual facility that we can store tonnage on, and then that'll be a commercially zoned property and things like that. For now, we're more of just like a hold it for at maximum 4 days and then ship it out. We won't be doing any processing until we kind of get either rent or purchase a facility that we can do that in.
Okay, I have a follow-up comment, but I defer to Commissioner Prince.
Thanks, sir. Penny, have you had a conversation with our local planning and zoning office to make sure that if any permits or any special use things are necessary, or if there's any requirements that you have to follow? I just don't want you to get afoul of our codes. I just want to make sure that you've had that conversation. Jackie Hobby is the person.
That conversation was had. It wasn't me. It was somebody at Wet Valley Recycling or Mountain Valley Recycling.
High
County Recycling.
Okay.
And it looks like everything's fine. We're not running amok or anything.
Okay. Yeah, it's High Country Recycling. Joni Liebman is on the call. I'm going to give her an opportunity to speak. But before I do that, Joni, I know Jackie is on the call as well. Jackie, would you weigh in as far as would this be considered a business? And then obviously, would it require a special use permit? You'll have to unmute, Jackie. I see you're muted. Okay, Joni, we'll go on. I would like to have you weigh in if you care to, and then we'll get back to Jackie.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything extra to add other than what Penny has said. I'm already looking at it, working with the town of Westcliff and Silvercliff for expansion, but for here, between the conversations Penny's had with Brian and my understanding that we would not need any special use permit because it's going to be in containers and for maybe a week, there would not be any need for a special use permit. So I was under the impression that we had covered everything that needed to be covered.
Okay, yeah, I think this is one of the probably the more important concerns that I have. I want to make sure, that's why I've asked Jackie to weigh in on this. She is going to the IT office to get on that computer. I just called her on the phone.
I'm on the phone now.
Okay, so Jackie, from your perspective, do you believe this recycling effort is a business? Is it going to require a special use permit?
Okay, so anytime that property owner is not doing agricultural, it's a business.
Okay.
So
county is zoned as residential and agricultural, correct?
Correct. So the recycling would be a business located in Centennial Ranch.
So you
So
believe
are
that they
you saying, I'm sorry. So does that mean that we need to apply for a special use permit?
Yes, it does.
And then, I guess my question is what it cost and how long would it take to get it approved? Can we still go for the December 1st start date?
No. The earliest that you would be heard would be February.
Oh my goodness.
May I interject here a little bit? I'm assuming that this is somewhat of a surprise to Joni and to Penny. Is that correct?
I think that's an
Yeah.
understatement.
Okay. So Jackie, is there any latitude to allow this recycling to start December 1 if they start the paperwork before December 1, even though they will not have appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Well, first of all, the Centennial Ranch homeowners would have to be notified that a business was going in and if they had any objections, and also the neighbors.
So it'd have to go through the regular process before they could even start.
Correct.
Go ahead, Joni.
If we can get hold of the homeowners association to have a special meeting, approve this and the neighbors are fine with this. And we, brought that to your attention. Jackie, could we then start December 1st?
No, Joni, because we don't have a thing in our zoning that states that you can start without a special use permit. We do, if you do start, I can cease and desist it because you did not get the proper paperwork and go through the proper hearings to make sure that this is a viable business and located out there.
So is there any way that we could get this started? Do you have any suggestions? There are two things that we feel are pressing. One is that recycling was stopped as of October 1st. And we really want people to not lose their, maybe Penny can think of a better word. We don't want them to lose their habit of recycling. And if it were to go through to February, a lot of people will just start filling up that landfill again.
All right, let's hold on just a second, Joni. Penny was going to say something, and then Commissioner Prince has a comment. Go ahead, Penny.
For sure. So if the only issue is that it's the storage is on site, could we work with the landfill to where we could leave our storage trailers there at the landfill, and we can do our switch over there and then just remove them from the landfill to where we're not taking that to the property yet until we get the proper zoning and everything.
Definitely.
I'd be willing to work with
Brian at landfill. Yeah, I think that's certainly a viable solution. Let's run that through the mill here. We'll start with Mr. Lockhart from the landfill.
Yeah, I don't really see a problem with that. We've got plenty of room. Of course, I'd have to do some, looking around and trying to figure out, the best place to put those. How many containers will there be, Penny?
So it would just be 2 trailers, and then the containers themselves. We wouldn't take it. We would take the empty switch out containers. We would take the empty ones back to the ranch in the truck with us. So it would just be the week-long storage trailers that would have to be there, and they're not massive. They're smaller trailers.
Yeah, we could work that out. That's not a problem.
I had a quick question on the trailers. You said they're small and they're totally enclosed except the back door. Is that how they're loaded?
Yes, yeah.
They're just thrown in the back by the people that are coming as far as they can throw it, right? How big is the trailer?
I don't
Oh,
know.
they're 8 foot, they're 8 foot storage trailers. Like one of them's an old horse trailer. And so, yeah, we take them. They're not like semi trailers.
Okay, all right, good.
Commissioner Prince, go ahead.
Okay. Well, two things. A and B.
Speak loudly, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
When I first heard of this project several months ago, the first thing I questioned was, have we talked to planning and zoning? And I was assured we were okay. So I'm kind of disappointed that now we're learning it's not. That's the negative. The positive is, Penny, what a great suggestion. You found a quick solution. Brian seems to be amenable to it. So congratulations on that quick thinking. I guess my only question would be to Jackie. Do you see any issues with what's proposed until we can get an SUP in place?
No, I think that was an excellent solution.
Way to go, Penny.
May I
All right,
speak?
thank you.
Go ahead, Joni.
It was my error that Penny never met with Jackie because we had talked about Penny getting together with Jackie. And then when we realized that it was just going to be enclosed trailers, I made the wrong assumption
Okay.
that there was no need to talk to Jackie because it wasn't going to be held in any physical.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We have a solution. It's not an issue.
I think I dropped the ball there too. That was on me too. I should have double checked even at the beginning. I think that there's a thin layer of blame that can go to everybody, but like as long as we can come up with a solution, that's the.
Great.
Okay, so I want to backtrack just a little bit, Joni. May not be applicable now or relevant, but I would not contact the adjoining landowners. I would let that go through the SUP process. I wouldn't want to circumvent that, as would be my recommendation. For maybe some obvious reasons, it's the county's job, planning and zoning department's job to contact these landowners, adjoining landowners, and get their comments in the process. If you were to go to them, I could see that would muddy the waters very quickly because you might promise them, you might threaten them, you might do all kinds of things that would fall outside of the realm of the SUP process. So if it's something that the landowner desires to do, is to apply for an SUP process, then I would do that, let it go through the proper channels. Commissioner Prince.
And the other thing, just in case, maybe the solution, Penny, you just came up with a few minutes ago, maybe that could be a permanent solution. I don't know why it has to go back to the ranch unless you're going to be sorting there and doing something like that. If it's just for storage, I mean, if Brian's in favor of it, and I'm sure they would never put words in his mouth, but recycling is a very important thing. And, you know, if we had to do it at the landfill long-term, I don't think I'm going to have a big problem with it. Unless someone else
Something
does.
special with glass, I think. They wanted to store stuff at some point.
We'll work that out as it comes, but I mean, what quick thinking that was.
Jackie, you still on?
Yes.
So would you just outline very briefly about the SUP process to Penny and what they need to do next?
Yes, the first thing that Penny would have to do is come in and get an application, and then we'll have a pre-conference hearing with the chairman of the planning commission and myself to lay down the facts and get the ingress and the egress and stuff. And then I contact after the application is filled out and we schedule our meetings, then I contact the HOA and I contact the adjoining landowners and we take comments from them.
Okay, and you would have a site visit and a hearing, is that correct?
We have a site visit and then we have a presentation where Penny would present her plan, and then the planning commission can ask questions And Penny, if she can answer them during that time, she would answer them. And then we go the next month to a hearing. And the hearing would be to lay it out, how it's gonna operate, what it's gonna look like, and then it goes to the Board of County Commissioners. So actually, you're looking at 3 meetings, one each month, so it'd be February or March. So I believe that by the end of March, that Penny would have a yes or a no. But in between the time, if we see this going south, then we could work up another solution. But I do agree that it needs to continue, but it cannot continue going forward as presented right now. It has to stay at that landfill.
Okay. And so did I understand you in your earlier staff report to the board that planning and zoning is not going to meet in January?
Correct. Planning and zoning do not have any meetings during January. We set our calendar and do that. So we've never had a meeting in January.
All right, but Penny would be welcome to come in and pick up an application for an SUP anytime.
Yes, and I could walk her through that and we'd set up a pre-conference hearing.
Okay, very good. Does that satisfy everybody that's pertinent to the landfill recycling issues? Mr. Bryan?
Yep, I'm good.
Ms. Joni?
Okay, can I make one more comment? There
ahead,
is a
Jackie.
cost associated with SUP, and at this time, it's a $575.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Penny, anything else?
No, not that comes to mind.
Okay, all right.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Any parting comments before we move on? We
No.
good? Okay, thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Penny. Whoever thought of that.
Yeah,
That's
no problem.
brilliant.
Any public comment?
Yeah, we don't need to take public comment because we're not going to have a vote today. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And we look forward to working with you in the future.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Tom, quick.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So Penny's going to get together with Brian and things are going to start happening at the landfill on December 1st.
That's my understanding, yes. As long as it's at the landfill and not at the ranch.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy, you good with that? That will not interfere with their application process, because if you violate the application process at any time, then they will pull that process or that application. So as long as it's at the landfill, my understanding is you'll be fine.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. Okay, next item of business, consideration of handling of the county maintenance position. I guess I would look for some direction here. We talked about it last time. Are you guys in agreement that maybe we ought to look at contracting somebody for snow removal this winter and then move forward?
Yeah, that was a good idea. We had last time. It's the right thing.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. I will take the lead on that unless one of you two gentlemen care to do that. I think what we'll do then is put an ad in the paper, and we're looking for a snow removal contractor to include sidewalks. The county does the parking lots, so it's really just the sidewalks.
I don't really, Gary does, I know they were doing, I know he was dragging by here, but
They come over every snowstorm and plow this parking lot and the south parking lot, so.
Because the county owns this parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So unless you want to do something different, that would be what it is snow removal.
so we're looking
For the
for a
county
sidewalk guy.
Sidewalks. Okay, that's what I'll move forward with.
I think it's
Okay, all right, very good.
And that ought to include, how the state throws the snow up on the side here. They stopped pulling the snow out.
Yeah, I
We may have to
don't
do
think
something.
we can expect them to do anything with the gutter side of the state highway.
Well, they
But
could.
as long as the contractor clears the steps and up to court, which they don't really use that door much anymore, but.
For example, the town of West Cliff has to remove the snow on the sides because the state will not do that. So if we want to have parking out there, we would have to get them to have a truck and do that.
Yeah, in the past, the county has come by with a loader too.
Right, so
and
maybe we
that,
could do
but, I can talk to Gary and we can move forward appropriate if that's okay.
Okay.
That's up.
Yeah, so I didn't know if that's who you were calling or
It
not.
was.
Okay. So with that, then I will move forward with getting something in the paper about snow removal. And Ms. Kara, can you make a note of that, please?
Yes, I'm sorry, we say
That's
that.
okay. Just jot down a note about an ad in the paper for a snow removal contractor.
Okay.
Any idea, gentlemen, on a wage rate, or you want me to just deal with
Just
that?
get a con, just get a bid. Just ask
Tell us
them.
what it would cost. I suspect
And
we're
then
not
I'll bring
gonna get a plethora of.
I will make a decision. I'll bring that back to the commissioners.
I don't care for that.
Probably in Vern's office.
Okay, I'm gonna go check.
Okay. Our next item of business, consideration of entering into an agreement for an SUP violation. Miss Jackie's on her way back over here, so we'll just take a couple of minutes before we move on. I don't think we need to go in a formal recess, but we'll just give her a few minutes to get here. Surprise those guys about the SUP, which was a concern of ours.
I was gonna ask that.
The very first time.
Yeah.
This was suggested to me, I said, you know what? This is great. You must get with planning and zoning and make sure. And I told them, Kathy, how they, I
They
mean,
admitted they heard that. They just.
yeah, and I mean, I knew this would all, this is where you run into issues with that. Your heart's perfect, but you gotta follow the rules.
And then, because they're in a homeowners association, they're gonna have to deal with that.
Well, that's why I asked Brian, if we had to, would you consider doing this full time? Because I suspect the homeowners are gonna go,
On the record, right?
they don't want trash in there.
I mean, it's.
Yes.
Coming over, did you get on?
She's on the phone, she's finishing up a phone call. Are y'all in recess or?
No, we're just waiting. We didn't take a formal recess.
But,
Miss Kelly, you still on?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
healthy?
We're just waiting for Jackie to come over. She was finishing up a phone call. Didn't think it was necessary to take a formal recess, just for your minutes.
Okay.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we should get another attorney report. He's a busy man. He's probably done a lot since the meeting started this morning.
I stayed awake.
First time this week.
I love it.
I do have something I could report. I mean, this is a public matter now because the discussion we had about Peggy Collins and, my feeling that she was engaging in the unauthorized practice of law. Jordan Hedberg from the Tribune contacted me. He received a letter to the editor that will appear in tomorrow's edition from her. And he said he was going to write an article about it as well. He wanted some input from me. Since we had made it public, I felt it was okay to share the information that I had, including the communications that supposedly came from Mr. McMahon that appeared to me to be written by an attorney. So I did that. And I'm assuming there'll be something, I have no idea exactly what Jordan is going to be writing, but I expect that her letter will be published as she wrote it, and then whatever he wants to add to that based on what I submitted to him.
Okay, thank you.
And has there been any, since she was told not to do this anymore, has there been any additional violations in your mind of practicing law without a license?
No, not anything to me. She did send me an email. Actually, I got to take a look at that again now to see. And I don't know where it is right now, but I think it was on her same email address. She says that's the only email address she has. I guess you're only issued one at birth, and that's the only one you can ever use. So
I have 5.
but no, I haven't heard anything that. And I haven't received any response to my request that we be furnished with a copy of the complaint that was filed for the alleged ethical violation with the Independent Ethical Commission.
Tom, Kelly texted me and said you might think about the VSO sidewalk as well. She didn't know if John handled that or if Wade the
No, that's a great point. And maybe the sheriff's.
Who does the sheriff? I was gonna ask the same thing. It'd be all county
I
grounds.
think Ivan did both.
I
of
think
those,
Ivan
but-
did, yes.
Yeah, I'll make. a
We
note
could
of that.
define
That's a good
all the
point.
ones we want them to do.
Thank you, Kelly. While we're waiting, I'll give you just a quick update on our little project over at the sheriff's office on the expansion of the kitchen for the jail. We as a collective group, some of the deputies, Sheriff Biley, myself, another friend of mine came in and volunteered. I do have that building closed in. The stove, the kitchen range has been moved into the new building and it's hooked up and functional. We're waiting to get the electrical in there for some lights, but.
You got it painted?
No, we haven't finished the interior because we're waiting on the electrical. And we haven't finished the exterior because we've ordered the tin, but it hadn't come in. They're gonna
Didn't need to be
look-
painted around the stove or any.
No, no, we insulated that and drywalled it, and then that's all gonna get
Torn out.
covered up with some trim and, yeah, so.
Looked good when I was in.
Yeah, I think it's coming along pretty well. I think they're pretty excited about that. So, all right, we'll continue then with the next item of business. Consideration of entering into an agreement for an SUP violation. Miss Jackie is back, Jackie Hobby from Planning and Zoning. I do not, is Mr. Miller's phone number ends in 85?
Guess the attorney. Maybe. No, it's not.
Please unmute.
We have one person on the phone, 0585. Can you unmute and identify yourself if you're part of this conversation, please?
Mr. Miller on the line? Hello?
Let me check and see. We're unmuted, so we should be okay.
Vernon, doesn't get him.
I'm not seeing a Mr. Miller.
Yeah, you cannot. That's fine. I just did not know who the phone participant was and was asking, but they have not responded. So we will move forward then. Miss Jackie, you're welcome to have a seat and the floor is yours, ma'am.
Okay, so I handed out this morning a new letter from Mr. Miller because I think Mr. Miller decided that he probably should clarify the cost. And I don't know if I have Mr. Miller's other cost, but
Exactly, the letter, his original one is exactly the same, excluding the second paragraph where he lowers the cost from A to June. I can't accept that.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
So the way we had left it last time was to get a letter from Mr. Miller at Westcliff Meats telling us what the cost would have been to dump it if he legally dumped it. And then we had to decide on, I think we came to the conclusion of a 2-year probation period plus all his records of his disposal monthly being submitted to the Planning and Zoning Office.
From whenever we enter into this agreement forward for a period of 2 years.
Correct. I also, in my report earlier, included 2 letters concerning this SUP. One of them was from Robert Miller, and the other letter was from Mr. Scott Geary.
Yes, you've seen those.
Got him.
Okay.
Let's see.
So can we talk about the letter since we just got it this morning? as Commissioner Prince indicated, the only difference is the second full sentence, or sorry, paragraph, which is one sentence. It says up until May and June of 2020, the cost would have been approximately $750 to $1,000 per month. Now, I'm assuming he's talking about the cost of having his discarded products picked up and hauled to a certified landfill.
That's correct.
So he is claiming here that his cost for that jumped from roughly, let's just say $1,000 to $4,500.
Correct.
Any reason why? I mean, why would it jump like that other than,
Well, he says increased production since May and June of 2020.
Okay.
It seems like a large jump.
it's a very lucrative business?
It does seem like a large jump, but in this period of time too, he had come in and got another building permit to add on to his original structure, stating that he doesn't have enough room for the increase in business.
Okay, did you do a site visit on that new? have you been
No,
to
because
that?
this doesn't have the finals.
Okay, so it's not completed.
Correct,
So as far as you know, they're not functioning in that new addition.
correct.
Okay. Could they be or no?
Yes, they
From
could
the-
be if it didn't require plumbing and electrical.
If they were storing equipment in there.
Yeah, you can do that.
Go ahead, sir. Sorry, I caught me mid-drink.
Sorry. So Jackie, this is pertaining to the illegal dumping of tons and tons of offland on a specific ranch, the
Can you
Livengood
speak up,
Ranch.
sir? For the
Yeah, the
record?
Livengood Ranch and also the Navajo Nation property. Since then, I've learned that there has been additional offland in other locations other than the ones that were originally identified.
Oh,
Is that correct?
Yes.
Sure.
I had, after the newspaper article, I had a call from a person who said that she was responsible for a property in Custer County. And when she had gone out to look at her friend's property, she had noticed a bunch of cow parts. And so she automatically thought that someone had possibility of someone stealing the cattle and butchering them on the property. And so she called the brand inspector. So the brand inspector actually tracked this to Westcliff Meats from the ear tags on the animals. But the property owner at this time said they cleaned up the mess. And they are the people that were dumping it. And they were using it to bait in coyotes. And that they had cleaned up the mess and she was not going to pursue it any farther in Bull Domingo.
Okay.
The next one was in Sierra Mojada. And it just happened to be that I was out on a septic inspection and looked over to the adjoining neighbor and seen a pile, and it was one trailer load. Called the deputy called the brand inspector, went and talked to the person, the deputy did. The deputy got
Which person? You said the person. Which one?
the person that, the landowner that the dumping had occurred on.
Okay.
The second person.
So the deputy went and spoke with them. She also spoke with Westcliff Meats. And she said that her and the brand inspector actually went through the pile. And it was actually so old that the brand inspector concurred that it happened a year ago. So then I called in Hank And Hank said, I forgot, he said that, and they were a miller, 2 Amish adjoining landowners.
The landowners?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And he said that they had taken the trailer load and dumped it on their property and were using it for coyote bait. At that time, found an arrow, plus found a game camera on the fence.
So in both cases, just to clarify it, that they were traced to West Cliff Meats. The landowners invited them to do it because they either wanted to hunt or get coyotes. Were they baiting for
Yes.
coyotes and other game?
So,
Jay's got it.
okay.
Jackie, I have a little concern that I'm not comfortable with the landowner saying we're okay with the let it go. Because as a sanitarian, do you not feel it's your job to make sure that water supplies and maybe running water nearby and seeping into the ground? Don't you feel it's your job to investigate that further regardless of what the landowner wants to say? Because they're not the only ones who uses that water.
Yes. Okay, so the one in Bull Domingo, I have no clue where it was, who it was, because the anonymous phone call was so vague. I think she was calling. She said she was located in Fremont County.
I can take it.
And so I can't do nothing about that unless I know. The other one, Hank said he would go clean it up, and the closest water source was at the home, and it was a long ways away.
Was that a 35-acre plot or a residential?
35.
But it's
35-acre residential with a home.
So it's not considered a ranchette or a ranch or agricultural?
Yeah, it's agricultural. It's out
So-
Sierra Mahata.
So my question is, just to clarify,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
is ranchers can kill a cow and leave it on the ground. That happens. And it doesn't, are they implying that that's what they have so little of an amount that that's not an issue? Is that why they're saying it, or do they not know?
I guess if you want to look at the regs for the wildlife says that you can bait coyotes.
Right.
Okay, but there is an amount of bait, and sometimes what you bait coyotes with in someone's eyes might be extreme.
Yeah.
And other people's eyes, you might think, oh, and growing up here, I've seen 10 cows out in a pasture dead. Okay, so if I stacked them up, I might have the same situation. It's just that they're scattered.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions. Just because I was born in a city, when you put out byproducts to bait coyotes, any critter could come and eat that offland, right?
Yes,
Okay, so when we say baiting coyotes, we're not just killing coyotes. You could be also shooting deer, elk, bear, and who knows what else that might come and eat that. Is that a fair statement?
no.
Okay,
Okay, so elk or a deer is not carnivorous.
okay.
They just eat grass. So the only thing that you would get would be birds. That's how I noticed it, is the birds. You get a lot of birds because they're scavengers. You get coyotes. You would probably get some other, but
Could
a
be
lot of
bear or a mountain lion.
a bear or mountain lion, but a lot of animals are carnivorous
Okay.
that are large animals.
Okay, that makes good sense.
Yeah.
So let me ask the next question, if I may, please. So again, I know nothing about this, so it's just my speculation, but if it's been sitting there for a while and the fluids from the decaying animals seep into the subsoil, is it possible to seep into aquifers that may feed multiple homes, even if it's far away? Is it possible to pollute that? I know the Navajos are really concerned that it was going to affect their buffalo.
Okay, so So what happens is there's actually not, the state does not have a soil test. Okay, so the solid waste guy suggested that I be in contact with CSU. So I went upstairs and I asked Guinevere to help me out on this situation. So Guinevere made multiple phone calls. Okay, so the only thing that could happen from the OFL is there's a microid, whatever they are, little buggy organism, and it actually dies within 400 days. And it's probably like you would imagine that, you know, it has a lifespan of 400 days. Okay, so it all depends where your water table is, because certain water tables are higher up. So if you start getting out like to the airport, that's how come our airport's out there, because it's dry. The gravel pits, Live and Goods Ranch, you're looking at dry, dusty water. I mean, land. If anything would grow on it, it would be a miracle. It's not a hayland. Out in Sierra Mojada, it is just dead grass, and I don't see a issue with that at this time, because it did not seep down any long than maybe this much into the ground.
It depends on the amount. So if it was 3 animals, it wouldn't seep anywhere. If it was 400,000, it might.
So that's the case. Yes. Now let's back up, because it's my understanding that Westcliff Meats does allow people to go out there and get bones and stuff for their dogs. I don't think that that should be an issue.
Go out there where?
Out to Westcliff Meats.
Okay, so they'll give it some to.
And actually they call it their dog food. That was not in Hank's SUP. Hank is gonna have to come in and clarify what is happening, and I'd like to have a list, but that's farther down the road in my office and with the planning commission. So we're not gonna get there, but.
Point is, they take bones, give it to people for different uses.
Correct. Okay, so the neighbor that adjoins this has just purchased the property. He's
Adjoins what?
this one in Sierra Mojada.
Okay.
It changed hands. We don't have an Amish owner anymore on the adjoining property. There was a couple skulls and stuff. He worked for the wildlife department, and he said, oh, I didn't think too much of it. He says it smelt bad a couple months ago, but he said, I didn't think much of it, because he says, I see it all the time. I see ranchers and they attract the coyotes and stuff. So he wasn't concerned, but they will get it cleaned up, and they will go over and clean up the scattered bones from the rest of the.
In Hank Miller's meat.
They be in Hank Miller. And Hank said that he didn't intentionally not tell me about this, but he said, I get so busy. And he says, we have so many people running in and out that they say, I want a trailer load, or I want some meat. And he said, I just tell them, take some scraps. I said, that's not the way this is going to work anymore, Hank. I says, we're going to get this down pat, and you're going to follow the rules. And Hank has agreed to that.
Go ahead.
How many other locations that you are unaware of that Hank might have forgotten about? Hasn't told you. Hasn't told you.
I agree. So I said to Hank.
Told you one. We found 2 others on our own. Is there 20 more out there? What do we know?
We don't know that.
Dishonest. I don't know if he'll ever tell you the truth.
But we don't know that. And I said to Hank, I says, you better get back in your memory and think of if you've allowed anyone else.
Okay, so let me interject a couple things here. Number one, I think we need to keep in mind, this is a right to ranch county. What we're talking about of somebody going and getting some animal byproducts, putting them on their property to attract coyotes or whatever they're legally licensed to hunt is a standard practice. I think we would all agree with that.
That's why she'll never know how many other people have it, because there's a lot of people.
And number two, if 30 people went to a business and said, can we have some byproducts to attract coyotes? Is it Westcliff Meat's responsibility to keep track of where those are going? I don't think so. If they're picking up trailer loads of stuff so that Westcliff Meats doesn't have to transport those to a certified landfill, then I got an issue with that. If somebody came and picked up 2 garbage barrels of offal to put on their property to attract wildlife, I think that's a standard practice in this county. It has been ever since I've lived here.
Okay, and what is the quantity? What is the law on that? How much can you do? And does Hank's SUP permit him to do that? These are the questions that I have. I mean, if I go and bring a 55-gallon drum and say, fill it up with offal because I want to shoot coyotes, that's a lot different than tons and tons
Absolutely.
of stuff.
I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just trying to clarify the idea of somebody going and picking up some byproducts to attract wildlife for hunting. That's all I'm doing.
Is he permitted to give out offal? Does his SUP allow him to do that? Or is it silent to that and he just did it on his own, not illegally?
His SUP does not allow him to do that, period.
It specifically states you cannot.
All products have to go to approved landfill.
Unless you have it all otherwise stated in the SUP, which is what your point is.
Which it's not stated, correct? Okay, all right. So I want to clarify one of the things that Commissioner Prince said, and I do this respectfully, sir. We're on the record and I want the record to be accurate.
Please do.
You had said in one of your statements that there had been illegal dumping on the Live and Good Ranch and on the Navajo Ranch. I don't believe that's an accurate statement. I think that dumping occurred on the Live and Good Ranch and bones migrated mostly from wildlife onto the Navajo Ranch. Is that correct?
Yes.
There was no flooding. Nothing was carried down by water.
Yes, there was.
There was flooding. So it could have been flooding and or.
I wouldn't say flooding. I would call it runoff. We're talking about a ditch that starts at one place, goes through a fence, and goes down to a containment pond on the Navajo Ranch.
Runoff.
So let me finish.
I'm going to agree with you.
Okay,
and here's
but my
why.
point, let me say this. My point was, there's been no dumping on the Navajo Ranch. Is that a correct statement?
That is a very.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify.
And I'll tell you, I would absolutely agree with you. I know they did not trespass onto the Navajo Ranch without permission to do this. And the way I stated it, you're 100% correct, Commissioner. But they are involved because parts of this did go onto their land and they're involved. So you're correct in the way you said it. I never personally felt that the Millers specifically went on to Navajo land and done.
That's all I wanted to
So,
clarify.
and I appreciate that because it's important. It's an important point, and I did leave it up in the air. So where are we with this thing?
Okay,
What are we gonna do?
so,
You have recommendations.
yes, I have a recommendation.
Before you give us that,
I just want, this proposed agreement that I prepared, did you forward that to Hank Miller yet? Or not?
I haven't even got it.
I emailed it to you along, I should have, maybe I
I
didn't.
can check real quick.
I thought I sent you a copy, maybe.
Which year?
I saw it.
Just the revised one came this
Yeah, the
morning.
corrected one, but that was just changing
The
the
date.
year.
This thing right here,
I
right?
don't think I see her on there.
Looks like
I can go
this.
print it real quick.
All right, okay, well, obviously he hasn't seen it, or his attorney hasn't seen it, and they're not on the phone.
Have you seen?
I just wanted to know where we
Okay.
stood.
Okay, so I did speak with Hank, and Hank's in agreement with everything that we have stated so far. The probation, the receipts, and I told Hank I did not know the amount of the fine and that there could be some other stuff. Hank is more than willing to look it over, and what he had said, he does not have a problem with what I had spoke about. He does not know the amount. he might not agree with the amount, but he just wants, personally, Hank just wants to make it right.
Okay, so can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Are we even in the business of negotiating, or are we gonna dictate to Hank, this is what the agreement is, or we're gonna pull your SUP? So that's a fundamental question. We have to decide, are we gonna put it out there and let him negotiate? Or are we gonna say, if you wanna keep your SUP, here's what you need to sign? And that's just a fundamental question. I'm not going one way or the other. It's a question.
My perspective on that is last time we talked about it, we took the word negotiated agreement out of that language and it's now an agreement. I don't see that there's any room for negotiation.
I agree with that, but I didn't want to bring that. I just want to put that on the table.
And that doesn't mean he wouldn't come back with a proposal from something else, but.
Well,
That would be negotiated.
That'd be
I know, I'm
negotiating.
just saying, you could expect that. I'm not saying we're gonna accept it. I'm not even asking him to do that. I'm just saying we would put it out there and expect him to pay it.
So Jackie, I have a couple questions for you. Was Mr. Miller aware that this was on the agenda today?
Yes,
Did he indicate to you he would be on the call today?
yes, I gave him the phone number.
And
I'd like to know whose phone number.
May I finish, sir? And did his attorney, did he indicate that his attorney was going to?
He said that his attorney wasn't too concerned
Okay,
and that she's more concerned about the criminal.
okay.
So let me see the phone number and I'll tell you
Here,
whether
just look
it's.
right.
I am disappointed that Mr. Miller is not on this call, but it's his right. He
0585.
doesn't have to be on it. but
That looks like Hank on
I think
the,
that's Hank's.
that's Hank's phone number
you have
on the
record
phone
of
call. I can recognize it. I call it all the time.
And I had his number anyway.
So what I would do
The
is
number on the letterhead, isn't
No,
it? 373.
No.
0196.
0196.
no.
No, that's his business. That could be his cell phone.
Okay.
okay.
So
So why don't we call the,
That
bu-
is his phone number. That's what I
So-
have for him. So.
I'm going to do this. Let's just freeze frame for a minute here. I'm going to ask if this person will identify themselves. So if it's one of the interested parties, we will know that.
okay, can I make a
You
suggestion?
may.
Can we call the phone number on the letterhead and ask Hank to unmute his phone?
No, I can do that right here.
Then will you do that?
I would. So this is Chairman Flower. I'm asking the person that's joined this Zoom meeting via telephone with a number ending in 0585, if you would at least unmute and identify yourself.
In all deference, he may not know how to
That's
do
true.
that.
I was thinking that
I don't want to
very
hold it
same
against
thing.
him if he
Right.
does not do that.
I'm gonna
Okay,
call that number there. and ask him.
so I'm concerned that neither this party or their attorney bothered to be part of this conversation, but I'm not saying that they have
Hello.
to. It's their right. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, Hank?
Um,
Yeah, we got your number on this meeting here, but are you having a problem with it? I don't know why it's showing up. He needs to know how to unmute it. You click on the,
What I suspected. Okay, good.
click on the screen. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a microphone on the left bottom side. It's got a bar through it.
Put yours on speaker and let's do it that way.
Yeah,
the old
let's
way.
just do it that way.
Tell you what we can do. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, why don't you just talk on the phone just like
Turn the
you're
volume
doing?
all the way up if you want.
And
Thank you.
Okay.
we can hear you now, but I don't know that everybody else will hear very well.
I would have been,
We'll
that
do
would
it.
have been terrible if he didn't participate. He didn't know how to push the button.
Go
right.
ahead, Hank. Can you hear us still?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie. Where are we with Hank now?
Okay, Hank, the county attorney has done an agreement and basically, I think I'm gonna have someone that's read it tell you what the agreement is, but it's basically what you and I spoke about, that you're gonna be on probation. For 2 years, you're gonna have to give me receipts of that you're dumping your stuff in certified landfill.
Okay.
Anything else?
And have to finish the cleanup.
And then, if there's any cleanup left, you're gonna have to go finish the cleanup.
And also.
We can sure do that.
And,
On the Navajo Nation.
and remember how we talked about you going over to the Navajo Nation
Uh-huh.
and cleaning up that? And that included the
Yes.
bones and everything?
Yep. And so the Live and Goods Ranch is completely cleaned up now.
Correct.
And
That's what you said, and we're probably gonna,
Out there.
we're probably gonna set up a date and go see the Live and Good Ranch. But we still have an issue with the Navajos. And that has to be worked out and maybe with them, the cleanup.
okay.
And then
Yep.
you gotta go clean up that mess in Sierra Mojada.
Okay.
I added that one.
Yeah, and that is on the agenda as well, to get that done.
Hey, hold on just a second, Mr. Miller, go ahead, Mr. Prince.
Mr. Miller, I have a question for you, if I may, please.
Sure.
Subsequent to the dumping on the Live and Good Ranch, we've learned of at least two other locations that one for sure comes back to West Cliff Meats, and the other we don't really know, but I don't know how it could have got there, but I don't know. I'm certainly not accusing you of that. Could you tell us where else dumping has taken place within the county that you're aware of that's coming from your organization?
That is all that I am aware of at this point. We could do something that if we do come across anything else, we'd be willing to clean that up as well.
Okay. So for the record, you're stating that the three locations, or the two confirmed and one potential, are the only ones that you're aware of at this point. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Miller, this is Chairman Flower. Is it a regular practice for you to allow people to pick up byproducts to take to their property for the purpose of baiting in and hunting primarily coyotes?
Okay. So I didn't get the first of the question.
Okay, I'm
Repeat that,
sorry.
please.
I'll restate it. Is it a standard practice for you to allow people to come to your business and get animal byproducts to take to their property for the purpose of baiting in and hunting wildlife such as coyotes?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Up until this whole mess started.
Okay.
But for the most part, they would just take a 55-gallon barrel, or we have some residents in town that used to come out and dig through the dump trailer to pick out the bigger bones and so forth.
Okay. For dogs or?
For dogs,
Okay.
yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Prince.
But Mr. Miller, were you not aware that giving any byproducts out from your business was a violation of your special use permit?
I was not, no.
And I'll ask Jackie to state, but to the best of my knowledge, it said that all byproducts have to be properly disposed of. Is that, Jackie, would you tell me that?
Yes.
Okay, so you're in violation giving out even a 55-barrel drum to somebody. But
Can
you
you repeat
were,
that statement, please?
okay, so based on the special use permit, it said that all byproducts had to be properly disposed of. And by giving any amount to anybody other than to a recognized process plant was a violation of your special use permit. And I'm assuming you were not aware of that based on the statement you just made. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I feel like I'm on trial here.
Yeah.
Hey, sound like a prosecutor.
Anything, Jackie?
This way.
Here's my perception or perspective on this, and I'm going to direct it to our council, Mr. Smith, as well as Miss Jackie and the commissioners. I would much prefer to deal with this in person. I would request that if we move forward with this, we ask Mr. Miller to come in. I think that's fair to us. I think it would be fair to him. We're going to have to make a decision about what we're going to do. I'm not super comfortable doing that over the phone.
I disagree. Here's why, respectfully. We're just gleaning information from Mr. Miller. We already have the facts we need. We know what the costs are involved. Mr. Miller is not going to negotiate with us. We're going to say, this is what it is. If you want to keep your special use permit. And I don't see him coming in, will do anything except delay this further.
Okay.
I'm comfortable for us to make a decision. I think the only thing left is how much fine, if any, we're going to assess. And that's a discussion we need to have. I also want to know that if we find that this is much more widespread than it is, I want to come back and revisit this and decide if we want to make other adjustments. And for the record, I'd like to say, Mr. Miller, two things. One is I really appreciate your cooperation. You've not hidden from this. You've come forward. You were honest as in terms of what was going on. You immediately offered to help clean it up. Second comment I want to make is I believe you told me that you employ 25 people at your company. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And I would be, I wouldn't sleep at night if I pulled your SUP and put 25 people or 26, including yourself, to become unemployed. However, my heart tells me the gravity of this, of what went on, and for as long as it did, the right thing to do is pull your SUP. That's what I feel. So I just want to make that comment because I'm so disappointed in this entire thing. Not only did you just circumvent the law for a long period of time, you potentially could have put people's health and safety at issue if this got into water supplies and that kind of thing. So I'm taking this extremely seriously.
Yeah, and we should, and I do want to apologize for the mistake that I made. And I'll do whatever that I can in my power to make sure that won't happen again and do what it takes to make it right.
I appreciate that comment, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Canada, go ahead.
Yeah, Hank, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I want to also say thanks, like Jay did up front, on diving in and immediately correcting the problem and keeping things going. Also, I just wanted to make you aware, this is just the county aspect right now. And I know you have to deal with the Indian Nation yet, and that owner. And I know you'll probably have to deal with other possible, I don't know if there's any criminal charges or anything, but that's pending, whatever the investigation. We're not aware of the status of the investigation. Are we, Jackie, in the detail? So just to let you know, and that we do, at least I do, support the fact that you are trying to rectify things. So we'll go from
I
here.
appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions while we have Mr. Miller on the phone?
Any questions for us?
Yeah. Mr. Miller, you have anything that you want to address the commissioners about?
I do not at this point, no.
Okay. All right, thank you. Well, we'll disconnect this phone connection. Obviously, you're listening in on your other phone, and you're welcome to continue to do that.
All righty.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Good call on calling him. Appreciate it. So, council, you think, I'll ask this to both of you. You think our next step here is to decide if and how much a fine we want to levy against Westcliff Meats?
Yeah, I wanted to call this a civil penalty under the provisions of our zoning resolution, not a fine.
Okay.
It's a civil penalty to be paid. One is punishment, and two, also to reimburse the county to some extent for the time that has been spent by Ms. Hobby and primarily her. The sheriff has been involved in it. I've been involved as the county attorney as well. So we still need to decide the dollar amount of the civil penalty. And as you talked about, it's not negotiable. It's a dollar amount. That if he doesn't want to accept it, then he would lose his special use permit. So I think you need to come up with an amount and keep in mind that there may be some action against the owners of the Live and Good Ranch down the road for a zoning violation as well, which would at least be my recommendation that if that happens and agreements reached there, there would also be a civil penalty attached to that. And the investigation, the criminal investigation is done. The sheriff's report is on the desk of the district attorney. I am not taking any position on that. I've spoken to the attorney representing the owners of the Live and Good Ranch and the tenants that live there. And he is trying to persuade the district attorney not to file criminal charges. I told him I'm not going to take a stance on that. If criminal charges are filed and a conviction is obtained or a plea agreement's reached, it's going to involve a fine, and that would be a fine through the criminal justice system. That could be up to $10,000 per person for anybody that's charged in that, including Mr. Miller, of course. My personal preference would be to see, because that money just goes to the state of Colorado. It doesn't benefit Custer County. If there are civil penalties that are agreed to and the matter is settled that way without criminal prosecution, then that money, the civil penalty, would be paid into the county general fund, and the county would have the use of that money for whatever purpose you decide you want to use it for. There was another question you asked, Tom, in an email. The attorney for the Live and Good Ranch did contact me. He's willing to allow an inspection by the commissioners or the Board of Health, whichever you want to call. Jackie would be included. I explained that at this time, all Jackie wants to do is take pictures. There won't be any soil samples. There's no necessity for any more drone video. And I'm waiting to hear back from him to see if that's okay in those circumstances. And it's entirely up to you whether you want to visually inspect it or just rely. I would go with Jackie either way. But the offer has been extended by the owners of the Live and Good Ranch to allow this, but I want to clear it through the attorney first. And then it'll be your decision whether you want to go out and look at it or be satisfied with Jackie as the county sanitarian to make a report back as the Board of Health if she's satisfied with the cleanup. So at this point, I think it would be appropriate for you to agree on the dollar amount if you.
Did you and Jackie talk penalty at all and have a recommendation or not? Jackie, do you?
We had, the last meeting had a recommendation. And I think that Clint and I had come up with a recommendation of.
Well, we had talked initially about $5,000. My feeling is that's insufficient at this point. And I mean, my recommendation would be $25,000 as a civil penalty to resolve this with Mr. Miller and his SUP. So, but that's just my recommendation.
And as a point of clarification, now we're talking about two distinct and separate issues. Westcliff meets SUP. And if there was a zoning or land use violation from the Live and Good Ranch side, that would be a separate issue for us to deal with. Is that correct?
Correct. That would be totally separate. That's not an SUP violation,
Right.
Obviously.
Right. So I
Land
guess
violation.
then my question would be, Jackie, from your standpoint, is there a violation that the county needs to be involved with from the Live and Good Ranch side of this issue?
Yes, it's a land use violation.
Okay, and is there, that's in the resolutions?
Yes, it's in the zoning resolution.
Okay, I just want to make it clear that we're talking about two separate things. Go ahead.
We need
Yeah,
resolve, Hank.
I think the only one we have on the table right now, on the agenda and in front of us is West Cliff Meats, owned by Mr. Miller.
Right.
For the principal part.
Right.
I think this is a total separate,
Agreed.
distinct issue that may or may not come up in front of us. And I would like to not intermingle the two of them.
Right.
I would like to handle this, and then if that comes forward, if there's a recommendation from the sanitarium that we need to do something, I'd like to handle it at that time.
Yeah, I
I agree.
agree, and that's where I was headed, that these
Okay.
are two distinct things. I'm assuming if there is a land use violation, that would not be a sanitarian issue, that would be a planning and zoning issue.
Other half.
Well, it could be
The other
both
half,
if
right.
it were a sanitarian issue.
So,
Pardon?
It could be a sanitarian issue if there was a reason, but right, I don't know what it sounds like you.
Yeah, let's
That's a whole different argument.
right.
Uh-huh, so, I agree that there has to be some kind of penalty. You can't just say, okay, you messed up the SUP, we're gonna go ahead and put you on probation. I agree that there has to be some kind of a financial penalty. But I also, maybe you don't think this is tied to it, but I do. I believe that Hank stepping up, the minute I told him, and he went out there and he cleaned it up, and I have proof of 35 grand spent, we would have to, what if Hank or the Live and Good said, no, your problem? Then we'd have to go to court, and one of them would have to step up to the plate, or else we'd have to get in there and get Road and Bridge to clean it up. So I think, in my perspective, yes, there has to be a penalty assessed, but I'm back to, we worked it out. We got it cleaned up. It won't happen again because Hank will not put his job and his business in jeopardy. This small town has already done the damage of the rumor mill. So I don't want to see anybody have to pay an exorbitant amount of money as a penalty for stepping up to the plate. But I do think there has to be a penalty assessed.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have to say.
Very good. What's the group's pleasure?
I'd like to comment.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Irrelevant. Irrelevant that he stepped up. What he did was egregious over a long period of time. He knew better. This is all tied to hunting as far as I'm concerned, and this is just my personal. I spent a long time thinking to myself, now why in the world would someone allow, I'm talking about the live goods, allow someone to drop 80 to 100 tons of animal byproducts on their property and not receive any enumeration, not be paid for it? I thought there's only one way, because they got special hunting rights. And I think this whole thing, I think not just the three that you have, I think it's all over the place. And I think the outfitters are involved in it. I think the hunters in this area are involved in it. I think this is a big deal, okay? But I'm not ready to open this can of worms other than to tell you my feeling. I think Mr. Miller, whether he stepped up to the plate or not, recognized that if he didn't jump in there and go, whatever you want, I'll do it, was going to lose a business that is extremely lucrative. I believe, I've never looked at his finances, but I believe it's very lucrative because he has 25 employees. He's building another structure. You wouldn't be doing that if you weren't making money, okay? So he had no alternative other than to say, oops, you pulled me with my hand in the cookie jar. You know, I will never do it again. And I know he will never do it again because he's not going to risk his SUP. I have numbers that I came up with, what I think the penalty should be, and it is not de minimis. It is significant because egregious offense that he occurred is extremely, extremely detrimental to this county. And I'm going to tell you what my numbers are, okay?
Tell us, Jackie's likes to
I'm
hear it.
telling it to
Tell
all of you. I'm
us.
telling it to all of you.
You're talking to Jackie, but
I'm
anyway, I
telling
want to hear
Jackie,
it.
because I'm responding to her. She's the only one who brought it up, how we're going to do this, okay? Prior to this letter we got this morning, and I believe this letter we got this morning is in because I made a comment previously about how much I thought the fine should be based upon $4,500 per load. Okay, and I had come up with 14 months of 4,500, that's $81,000 that he did not pay, would not have paid because he dumped it on the side of the road or in someone's field, as opposed to paying it to have it handled appropriately, like he promised to in his SUP. Okay, so to me, my mind's going this way. Just to be whole, just to pay what you should have paid had you played the game right, you would have paid an additional $81,000. There's no penalty if you pay $81,000. None, no civil penalty whatsoever. So my thought was twice that, or $162,000 is what his penalty ought to be. Then, this morning I've reconsidered that because I got a letter stating that not all the loads would have been 4,500. And I can agree with that. I mean, I'm taking the man's word for it. Although in my mind, honestly, I'm not sure I trust his word. I mean, there are 2 more sites that he forgot to tell us about. I'm having an issue with this, but that's okay. That's just my personal opinion. So my feeling is, I think if it was, I'm going to stick with my original number. I think $81,000 is the right number of fine he should pay. That covers whether it's the $4,500 or something less, and the difference between what he actually paid, would have paid, $81,000 will cover his penalty and his cost that he would have paid had he played the game by the rules. So I'm strong on $81,000.
Got a quick question for you, Jay.
Sure.
You said $85,000.
81.
No. I'm talking, there's a statement in here that says average cost for disposal is $4,500 a month.
Right.
Not per load. You can use them per load.
I apologize. It was a month. 18 months times 4,500 is $81,000. Thank you, Bill, for clarifying that.
So now you're saying the total would be
$81,000.
81,000 plus.
No, I'm not saying plus.
I'm just looking what he spent. So $81,000 for the penalty, and then he has already spent 35 to clean it up.
I don't care about that.
I'm just looking at the big picture. I just want to know what.
And here's the second part I would say. I think this occurred over an 18-month period. He should have 18 months to pay us back. And if he fails to make a payment or he's short, goodbye SUP. Now, let me go to my second comment, because I've really thought about this. Maybe Hank Miller needs to be out of Westcliff Meats. Maybe we should say to him, you have 6 months to transfer ownership to someone else who is more honest. Maybe his employees ought to buy the business out. I don't trust this man. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's very hard when he put the citizens of this county's potential health in jeopardy. He has crossed the line in my mind. Not a one-time deal. This is 1.5 years this went on by his own admission. I'll shut up and you can tell me why I'm so wrong and I'll vote whatever you think. I'm just giving you my feeling.
Yeah, I'll share some comments. Number one, you can't be wrong because you told us what your feelings were and what your thoughts were. So I get that. I don't agree with those. I think you have made some statements that are not relevant and probably are not accurate or true, certainly not provable to this point, and that would be dragging in the whole hunting thing.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, I'm giving you my opinion. I don't think there's been one shred of evidence brought to us that this had anything to do with hunting. I've heard rumor after rumor in this community. I have been accused myself of being part of this. I can tell you that is not true. I almost hesitate to even say that because it's ludicrous. So I think we have to evaluate this based on the merits as we know them, not what we think could have been the motive or the ulterior motive of why this happened. I don't think we
don't know.
We don't know, and I don't think it's our responsibility to try to know why it happened. That's not the point here. I think the point before us is to decide what kind of a civil penalty we assess Westcliff meets because of the illegal dumping. Why it happened is no part of this conversation, in my opinion.
I can concur with
Okay,
that.
all right. Commissioner Panda?
Okay, Jay, I hear you too. The actual cleanup cost, if there were in a court anywhere else, that would be part of the penalty. You will go and clean it up. And whether he had to spend it anyway is kind of irrelevant. That's a cost that he thought he didn't have to pay. Anyway, and I heard Clint, I don't know why Clint came up with 25K either. Is there a reason for that? Or was that a stock number of some kind?
No, it's not a stock number. It was anticipating what they could be facing and possible fines in a criminal case.
Yeah.
And that maybe if there's an agreement that Mr. Miller's attorney could present to the district attorney saying he's already agreed to do this through the county, it may be a bargaining point there.
That's right.
I don't care about that in particular, but it would.
So there's actually two other possibilities they're going to get hit with other costs for sure.
There could be. I mean, if criminal charges are filed, I don't see anybody going to jail over this, but I could see some substantial fines.
Right, we shouldn't be, in other words, my point is we shouldn't be treating this like we're the judge and jury for the whole big picture. It's what has actually happened. He actually broke an SUP.
That's
law, and that's a fact.
exactly what we should be addressing.
And that's what we have to adjust. Yeah. And when I'm looking at it from strictly that point of view is, yes, we should know better. But it takes two parties to tango, and I'm not sure, and I can't suppose why he was convinced that it was a good thing to put it on somebody who volunteered, I guess, to let him dump all this stuff on their place, which is excessive. And so, I don't know why anybody would be that naive to think that it would be okay. It's okay to take a 50-gallon barrel out to do some hunting maybe, but so there ought to be a penalty. I liked your idea of probably more than $25,000 is appropriate. And the fact that he would have had to pay X to get it shipped down to Pueblo. If it was, and I don't know what that is, I don't know if it's relevant that the cost in other times of the year is less per month than it is now. I don't know if we take that into consideration over the 18-month period of time or not to get an actual number, but using the maximum number that you used of $4,500 a month, you came up with each of those months, and it was $81,000, right? And that may be, we could debate that a little bit, but that's a lot better than doubling it. And I think it's appropriate if it were just the SUP alone, that may be right. But if we wanted to consider the bigger picture, that maybe we need to talk about, and what the reason that's what he did. So we could talk about that. So I think the total cost then to them is going to be $116,000 to that company for the mistake he made right now.
And you're taking the $81,000 penalty and adding the cleanup. So you're saying that he would pay the $81,000 and that's just basically where you're at.
Right, and he's already spent $35,000 correcting his problem.
So the total cost would be $116,000.
Right, and then we can debate that.
Yeah, I want to debate that because I happen to concur with Commissioner Prince. The $35,000 has no part of this conversation, in my opinion. That is water under the bridge. We're not here to do that. We're here to decide about a civil penalty for the action that he took. The amount he paid to clean up to me is external to this conversation. That's where I'm coming from. I had said it before that I am not interested in putting this business under with this civil penalty. That is not my objective. I am not interested in showing favoritism to Mr. Miller. I've been in his place of business twice. I don't have any personal connection to Mr. Miller, but I'm certainly not interested in plowing this business under for this county. So
Let me say.
go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're not here to put them out of business. The argument that Jackie made though is correct. And that is, he could have not, he said, I'm not cleaning it up. Live and Good went along with it. And they caused me to do this. I don't know. He could do that. He could take us to court over it and we could end up paying the cost of trying to get it cleaned up or cleaning it up ourselves. That's why I was looking at it as a part of the penalty piece.
And I certainly,
And it saved us some time, money, and hassle.
I'm certainly willing to acknowledge that and quote unquote give him credit for how he has handled this. I respect what Jackie has told us on his behalf, and I believe it. Go ahead, sir.
Just FYI, 81,000 over the 18-month period.
Yeah, that's
$500,
and that's a
which is what he would have paid had he filed the rule.
Right, and
it's. I mean, this is not. I don't believe if $4,500 is going to put him out of business for a fee that he should have paid anyway. He needs to reconsider his business, but I don't believe that's going to be the case since he's in the process of building a building right now.
Right. I agree.
So I don't feel $81,000. There's a rhyme and reason to that number. It's not pull it out of the year. It's not 5,000, not 25. It's not 50. So I mean, that's how I came up with it. Had you done the right thing from day one, you would have spent an additional $81,000. We want you to pay that, and we want you to pay it now. We don't want you to write a check for that amount because I agree with you, Tom. That could be severely impact his business. But over an 18-month period, $4,500 a month is reasonable in my mind.
I hear you. What do you think?
Well, I'm not going to take
I'm taking the logic into it, not necessarily.
No, that's fine. He's going to be on probation for 24 months. If you spread this 81,000 out over 24 months, it's $3,375 per month.
Right.
And that may be how he would have to pay it, or if you want to make him pay it within 6 months or so, it's obviously going to be a pretty steep.
I want to make one more statement, and I've certainly taken some shots about this, so I'm going to address it in a public meeting. I want to ask you guys, I want to ask us, is any of this conversation about this civil penalty amount, the actual dollar amount, a money grab to make the county money?
Oh, heck.
Because I've been accused of that already. All you're trying to do is make money off of this deal.
I've had the opposite. I don't know who you're talking to. I've had people saying, put them out of business because they screwed up bad,
And honestly, in my heart, that's what we ought to do. We ought to pull the SUP because they flagrantly violated the law. However, there's 25 people involved, and I won't do it because of that.
Well, that's where I was going with the last part.
But let me answer Tom's question if I may. The last thing I thought about is how can we soak this guy for some money for the county?
Right.
I came up with a mechanism in my mind that I thought was appropriate. In fact, my number is really way too low, but I'm not going there because you pay me back what you would have paid anyway. There's no penalty there. You're just doing what you would have done regardless had you played the rules. So
his business plan should have accounted for it, and he should have had it. He would have been paying it. That's correct. And so that didn't happen.
Commissioner Cannon, have you thought about this as a money grab?
No, that's what
I have not
point.
either. It never came into my line of thinking of, hey, this is a great chance for the county to make some money. That is ridiculous and it's ludicrous.
It's irrelevant. The first time
I hadn't heard that. No, I got a lot of email.
Count yourselves blessed then. Okay. Yeah, I do not look at this as an opportunity for a money grab. I know council has said if we make it a civil penalty, that money will come to the county. Okay, this occurred in the county. I get that. However, I vote when I have nothing to do about, boy, this is money coming into the county coffers. Let's run it.
Yeah, I think that's out.
Not applicable from my perspective whatsoever.
Can I make a comment?
You may.
You have to, in my mind, recoup some money from this because I have many hours in this.
Okay,
And I would like to see us go out and clean up the rest of it and move on because I have other things to do. So if you just take the hours of this and extra that has been put, you need to recoup some money. And I have never heard it was a money grab.
okay. So for you to say that, Jackie, I'm sorry, I apologize. For you to say that and for us to take that as a serious consideration here, we'd have to know exactly how many hours you spent on it. Same with the attorney.
Correct.
And I'm not asking you to give us that. I'm not sure you could give us that.
I can't give you that.
So, but I appreciate what you're saying, that is certainly part of the consideration. Go ahead, sir.
But if that was the case, that's not in my number. My number is just what you would have paid had you played the game that we were
Agreed.
supposed to. So if you said, and I'm making up a number now, it's probably not appropriate, but if you said between council and you, there's $5,000 worth of additional work that was done. I don't know, let's just say it. Then I would raise my number from 81 to 86. Now, I'm not suggesting we do that, but maybe we ought to. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So Tom, what do you think?
Let me have a shot at it here. I happen to agree that there ought to be a penalty. And if you look at it, I do believe that the cost of the cleanup is part of that. I would even go as far as saying then where we were before, $15,000 on top of the 81,000 in order to get recoup. May possibly some of the other time might be something to consider, but I'm happy to leave it at the 81.
Tom?
Well, I believe 81 is damn steep. However, I do agree that about your philosophy behind that number, that it wasn't a random number, that it represented something that would have been paid most likely anyway. Now, is it empirical? No, because I do believe that his business has grown over the last year and a half. So I don't believe he would have been paying $4,500 a month every month for the last year and a half. But that's a concrete figure that's before us today. Everything else would be supposition. We just have to
See,
make
he's
a
also
wild
getting,
guess.
he's going to be charged for the cleanup, the rest of the cleanup. Terry.
He said he's finished the cleanup.
No.
On the live and good ranch.
Not on the Indian.
We're still negotiating with the Navajos,
So
maybe.
That's still going to be an issue.
And
Oh, that's a whole,
above-
no, that's a whole separate
No,
issue.
it's above the cost of doing it right in the first place. See what I'm saying? That's still, that is a penalty beyond, because all we're doing is consider the whole amount that he broke out there with. That's my point. It's an additional cost that he's going to have to stand. That is truly a penalty.
Well, I get what you're
on the
saying.
cleanup.
And respectfully, I feel a little bit differently. I feel that it's not a penalty because bringing it back to the way it was is not, I mean, that is just what needed to be done. That's not a penalty.
Right.
That was the risk he took when he did what he did that he may have to pay. The penalty would be if we said 81,000 is what you would have paid, and as a penalty, we're going to add another 20,000 on top of that. I'm just making a number up, of course. Then that additional amount is the penalty for what he did. That's the slap on the hand. The rest of this, up until that, if you went with the 81, it's just getting him whole. He has not given up one iota that he wouldn't have done had he not done this, including the cleanup, because he would have had to clean up regardless.
I get it.
So there's no penalty involved in 81, in my opinion. And I could be
I'm
way
agreeing-
off
I'm agreeing
base,
with
and I
you. All
would
I'm trying to
agree with that.
point out is, in my big picture look at this thing, that there is an additional penalty he's going to pay, and not only just being penalized because it happened, he's going to have to pay for the cleanup as well, and that cleanup is in our calculation, so it's on top of that.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
I understand.
And I guess I come at it from a little different perspective. I'm not arguing with what you're saying, Jay. Whatever dollar amount we decide, if we decide today, that is a penalty. if that amount is 81,000, that amount was based on what he would have had to pay. He's gonna pay a penalty. So to say he's not paying a penalty, I don't think is accurate.
We're not letting.
If we assess a civil penalty, that's exactly what it is. I get the whole make him whole thing. I understand that. I really do.
Okay.
But if we did 5,000, 25,000, 81,000, 162,000, that is a penalty. We need to be able to walk away from here and say, we assessed a civil penalty to West Cliff Meats.
Okay.
And that total was 160.
Yeah, we really are.
I can agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Bottom line is he's gonna reach in his pocket and pay whatever we agreed to, assuming he does, pay whatever we agreed to that he would not have paid had we not assessed this against him.
Correct.
Okay, and what my suggestion is based upon what he has earned additionally from not paying all the expenses he normally should have paid. And that's kind of how I look at it. Had he conducted his business properly, his cost of business would have been $4,500 a month more, or something less than that, depending on, when it was. And I think that's why this letter is here saying that, hey, it wasn't 45 every single month. And I agree with that. I'm not going to argue that point. I have no way, I would not.
So the way I'm looking at it, I would assess him $116,000 fine or penalty and give him credit for time spent in jail already, meaning he spent $35,000 to clean it up. So that's how I'm looking at it.
Okay.
You understand? Because that is a penalty and that's what they do all the time. And, you got to look at what they've done so far in the repayment phase, you see.
Okay, so you still came up
Because they
with
broke the
81.
law.
Yeah.
But would it matter that 35,000 was not paid to the county?
Yeah, it doesn't know, because part of our job, they could have not have done it all. We would have required it, he cleaned it up.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Doesn't go into the county coffers. It goes, or we paid it
I understand. I'm just
35,000 go get
asking
cleaned up by somebody else.
for clarification, 116,000 less money's already paid for cleanup.
And if
Does
it
it
costs more than
matter?
that, then he has to go above and beyond.
But does that matter that he didn't pay us that money, that he paid it to somebody else? That's not any part of your calculation.
He did
But
doesn't matter. He didn't pay it.
restitution, which is what the cleanup is, restitution is not a penalty.
Well, they don't call it, penny. It's still part of
I'm
the,
not disagreeing with your philosophy, but I personally feel it's a restitution that he has to pay to get it back to the way it's supposed to be. But a penalty is something separate and distinct. That's just the way I'm looking
but
at
you
it.
see, the
I'm
way,
not saying
the
you're
way
wrong.
that the public would look at it, or anybody on the outside of this, is the total penalty or the total dollars we're charging is $116,000, period. Because if he didn't do it, somebody's gonna have to do it. And he was able to get it done for $35,000, fine. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
That
but
is what it costs to get
we need to
well
add the
for the
two other
mistake he made.
locations if we're gonna do that. So I don't agree with your philosophy. I mean,
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. I just feel differently. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I feel differently.
Yeah, I just keep coming back to
It is.
what our job is, what's before us. I see where you're coming from.
I want the public to know it cost $116,000 for the mistake that he made,
Well,
period. It did.
and that's not an issue to me. The issue to me is what we decide
Right.
as Board of County Commissioners to assess a civil penalty. What the public knows about the rest of it, I don't care.
Well, no, that's not, Tom, you're missing the point. I don't care what, I do care what the public knows. I just care about the process here. If he had done nothing and folded his tent and died and went out of business, it would have cost us $116,000. We would have, you see what I'm saying? That cleanup would have had to have occurred and somebody would have to pay for it. And we would go after that somebody
Right.
if we did it ourselves.
We would have sued.
And that,
whoever it
you
was.
bet. And so that's part of the process of restitution, if you want to call it that. And so from the point of view that I'm trying to make is if the whole restitution is $116,000 in this case, because we've already agreed that $35,000 is
Yeah, and I just can't
I'm not
can't
there.
go there because that's like saying then the civil penalty is going to be 116,000.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
okay, all right.
Of which 35,000
Already paid.
already been paid
That's right.
as a cleanup.
That's correct.
Well, then the civil penalty we would assess is not 116,000.
No, it is, Tom, because just because he paid it doesn't mean that if he hadn't paid it, we would have had to been done.
my perspective is whatever dollar we settle on, he's gonna pay the county that money.
Additionally, that's correct.
Not additionally, he's gonna pay us that money, end of statement, right? He's not gonna pay anything additional. He's gonna pay us whatever we assess him. That's the end of that. What he's
Tommy,
done,
right.
what he's done to pay for his cleanup, again, I maintain has nothing to do.
It's not his cleanup, it's our cleanup. It had to be done, is the point, and he had done it on his own before we asked him to do it.
So Bill, with your thinking that way, if we did the cleanup and we billed him, let's say it cost us 35,000,
Right.
just for a number. And we billed him and he goes, oh darn, here's your check for $35,000. That's not a penalty.
No, and the additional on top.
No, don't go there.
Why?
Let's keep the cleanup separate from the civil penalty. The civil penalty is
Okay,
you're paying a
All right.
fee for screwing up. The cleanup is bringing back the property to the
which is his
counties.
responsibility.
Yes, and it's bringing it back to the counties,
Right.
levels of sanitation and cleanliness.
That's okay.
Miss Jackie, go ahead.
Can we just make this simple and say the cleanup?
How do we make it simple?
The cleanup is off the table. The cleanup,
Mr. Hap,
it doesn't matter whether it costs 35 or 40 grand, had to be done, and it had to be done through my office.
And he did it
And he
because
did.
you asked him to.
Yes, so it's off the
Right.
table,
so it was
That's how I
done.
feel. Let's just
I
talk
agree.
about the penalty.
just the penalty, agree on a penalty. Please.
I move. Sorry.
Just one other thought,
Do whatever you
because it may impact your motions. I would, as a friendly recommendation, say because of what Clint mentioned to us, we already knew it, that this also includes a 24-month probation that we set it, whatever this civil penalty is, up on a 24-month payment. That's a suggestion.
And I don't have any problem whatsoever. Look, the reason I said give him the 18 months, because that's what
Right.
he would have had.
Right.
You want to make it 24 months, you want to make it long, I don't care. He just needs to do the right
Right.
thing. And once he got caught with his hand in a cookie jar, he has stepped up and did the right thing. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I told him that. I've said it in this meeting multiple times. I know I'm repeating myself. I give a man credit when he says, look, I've screwed up. When I was a judge, when someone stood in front of me and said, Your Honor, I made a terrible mistake, that went a long way with me.
All right, sorry for the interruption, sir.
Make your
What's your
motion.
motion?
I move that we assess a civil penalty against Westcliff Meats of $81,000 to be paid off over a period of no greater than 24 months, and failure to make monthly payments, equal monthly payments over that period would be grounds for revoking the SUP.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to assess a civil penalty to Westcliff Meats in the amount of $81,000 payable over no more than 24 months. And any deviation from that would lead to grounds of a revocation of the SUP. Further discussion?
Public comment?
Yes, we'll get to that, but we're going to have any further discussion here
That's
first.
fine. I think that's reasonable.
Council, anything else?
No, that works out to $3,375 per month for 24 months. Beginning, according to this agreement, if Mr. Miller signed it starting December, I think I had the first payment
January, I think.
starting in January.
Okay, I have a question. I don't want to deal with this after it happens. I'd like to have a conversation before it may happen. If Westcliff Meats said, we want no part of that, we've already agreed this is not a negotiated settlement. What is our response?
I know what my response would be. My response would be that we will be pulling the SUP and then we can negotiate how long down the road, 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, whatever.
We negotiate amongst ourselves.
Yes,
saying,
we
okay,
decide we're going
The
to pull,
resolution, please.
we're going to pull the SUP.
You can suspend or revoke.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's one other thing, right? Suspend, revoke, or
Here's the way I'm looking at it.
Or
Let me
modify.
put it in English, okay? I don't want to put these people out on the street without a job, okay? However, if Mr. Miller, who is the deciding maker of this agreement, chooses not to do it, I would say we're going to give you a period of time to come up with another alternative. And what I'm hoping he would do is either sell the business to a third party, maybe his employees would own it, something. I don't want these people out of business, but if Mr. Miller chooses not to sign this agreement, we have to put a deadline on how long we'll allow that SUP to stay open. That's my opinion.
Is an SUP assignable or transferable, or does it have to be an
It has to
unrecorded?
be a new one.
I'm asking Jackie.
Goes with the
Yes,
person,
it
right?
has to be a new one.
I've read this.
That's okay. I don't want his business to close is what
And
I'm
you're-
trying to get to.
You're talking about, we discuss what's gonna happen. It's not a negotiation with Westcliff Meats. is
Oh,
that correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
He has refused to do it. His personal SUP is going away. Now, what are our alternatives? Okay,
Keep people
we
in
can
business.
let him continue in business for a period of time until a transfer takes place. Or we may decide, you know what, folks who are working for him, I'm very sorry, factories close all the time, go find another job. I'm not in favor of that. I'm not advocating that, but that is one of the decisions we could make.
Jackie,
Let's add to it that Hank would make his monthly payments to the planning and zoning office, and I would receipt it, and then it goes into the general fund. And then that way I could keep track of the payments. And then if there is any deviation, I could come before you and tell you what happened.
I think that's fine.
yeah, you make your deposits to the treasurer's office, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the only other thing, we're in discussion, I don't mind making an amendment to the motion is set a deadline on the monthly date to pay. So there's no question.
Okay.
So,
Well, it said on here the second day of the month.
Yeah,
And that was just because January 1's a holiday.
Yeah, no, I got it.
I agree.
okay, so the second of each month is due and payable to, see, this is my question, Jackie. These checks or whatever is probably gonna have to be made out to Custer County, period.
Correct. And so does mine have to be made out.
Not planning and zoning, you just make them out to Custer County. That's how
Uh-huh.
ours are. Any further discussion? Public comment, if anyone on the call has public comment prior to the commissioners voting on this motion, now would be the time to share that.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, God, we fight over whether or not to appoint a committee, and here we are. It's insane. Okay. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The civil penalty for Westcliff Meats for violating their special use permit is set at $81,000, payable up to no more than 24 months. Payment made to the planning, to Custer County through the planning and zoning office.
Custer County Treasurer.
No, it's just Custer
Just
County.
Custer County on your.
Thank you.
And then do the second.
And the due date of each monthly payment, if that's what Westcliff Meats so chooses to do, would be the second day of each month,
Beginning January 2nd and the second day of each month
Right.
thereafter.
Or the first business day of each month. Would that be okay?
because the second may fall on a Sunday.
Right.
So I'd say the first business day of the month. Is that reasonable, Mr. Kanda?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So
Beginning in January.
Mr. Smith will redo the contract and then we'll all sign it.
Gotta get Mr.
Agreement.
Miller to sign off.
Yeah.
It's for town signature, your signature, mine, and Mr. Miller's is how I set it up.
Okay. And I would assume that we sign it before we send it to Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Can I go?
You may go, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie, for all your work. Okay. The next item of business is consideration of the 2020 supplemental budget resolutions. We have 10 of those to consider, gentlemen. I like your phraseology Commissioner Prince, this is to make the 2020 budget whole, basically.
Right.
We have dispersed money out of the funds this year without having budgeted that, primarily, and I've talked with Donna about this, primarily due to grants coming and going out of our general fund, but we need to consider these prior to the end of the year. So Ms. Donna has provided us with those. Let me pull those up real quick. And we have a hard copy today. In the first document, two documents sent to us. The first one started with a resolution with CCEDC on the El Pomar proceeds.
20-12, they're all numbered.
Mine's not.
Really?
Yeah,
We're going to number them today,
Right.
but
I did write.
I got lucky, I guess.
handwritten, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote
So-
to Donna, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
and asked her to finish the dash for, it was 20 correct on all of them.
Right.
Maybe I got
She left that blank on purpose because there was a question as to what that would come to me. Yeah.
Excuse me. Get him out of here.
So let's start with, boy, it's not a good time for her.
So
to
it's
walk out.
CCED El Pomar, and that's the one that she has up.
And what do you have as a number for that? 12?
12.
Okay, so then let's go back because that would be the last one. I'm sorry.
And she goes from there.
Ms. Carey, do you
13.
have the resolution numbers for these?
Yes, they're on the copies.
That's the one, the
On
one that I
on the
had.
hard copy,
Yeah.
one you
I
just
don't-
gave me?
Yes, the
Okay.
resolution numbers?
Yes.
Yes,
I don't have a copy.
No.
That's okay. I don't need the copy.
We'll go through that.
Just
You can
talking
write
through
them on
it,
your-
that's-
I'll put the
So I'd
numbers.
like to take them in order if we may, and it appears
What's your
that
12? You got one with
Yes.
a number on it? What's your 12?
the resolution 20-12 is revenue sources from the El Pomar.
That's right.
And so on the
I've got,
grant revenue. So group's pleasure on 20-.
I move we accept the resolution 20-12. Is
Okay,
that how we want to do it?
well,
Or do we want to do
yeah,
it?
I get to say, we'll do them all at once or not.
We can. I would rather
I'd
do
like to do
that.
them all at once. I don't have any issue with
I
that.
don't either.
This is,
You withdraw your motion.
I thought somebody said we had to do it that way at some meeting.
I don't know, Clint, you got to feel
Can we,
for that.
can we accept all these in one motion, or do we have to?
You know, as
Each resolution.
maybe we better do them
They're
separate.
all written as a resolution.
Let me check with Donna real quick as well.
I think.
Tom,
Yes,
we've always done them separate in the past.
all right. Donna, we were just trying to decide.
That's
We can
Kelly.
do these resolutions separately. Kelly's recommending that we do.
Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, all right.
I thought, but
Yeah, I didn't either. Thank you. Okay.
okay, so my motion is for 20-12.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-12, a supplemental, a resolution appropriating additional sums of money to defray expenses in the amount of the budgeted for Custer County in the amount of $96,753. Discussion. Again, this was grant money. It was basically passed through, but we have to account for it in our budget.
Right.
Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the resolution 20-12, say aye. Commissioner Canada.
Aye.
Mr. Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Flower votes aye. Motion carried. 20-12.
Resolution
Do you want to
20-13.
sign these as we go, or do you want to wait?
Where do you-
Do them all?
You got a master copy?
I do.
Why don't you just sign it and then as we
We'll
do?
sign it as we go. We're all three signing these, by the way.
Yeah. So we're doing that. I move we accept resolution 20-13, not $68,000.
There a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-13, again for appropriating additional sums of money in the amount of $68,000. a revenue source was from the road and bridge fund balance. Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Resolution 2013 has been adopted.
Stack them up there. I'll
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I would move that we adopt resolution 20-14, appropriating additional sums of money again from revenue source road and bridge out of their fund balance for the water line project going to the rodeo grounds, fairgrounds.
I'll second it.
We move to second to adopt resolution 20-14, a resolution appropriating additional sum of money of $18,772.30. Kelly, if you need any of these repeated, just give me a shout, would you please?
Yep, I'll let you know.
Okay, discussion. Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kenda.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Resolution 20-14 has been adopted. Group's pleasure.
I move we accept resolution 20-15, resolution appropriating sums of money to defray rents, expenses in the sum of $97,337.29.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2015. Again, grant revenues, $97,337.29. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Resolution 2015 has been adopted. Ms. Kelly, are you on?
Yeah,
So I've got a question. I'm a little late in asking it. You have to attest these. You okay doing that when you come back? Do we need to bring those out to you? What is your thoughts there?
no, I'll just do them when I get back and then we'll record them then.
Okay, thank you. Group's pleasure.
I move we adopt resolution 20-16
Second.
for $75,000.
Yes. Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-16 appropriating $75,000 from a revenue source, again, grant funds, Mile High United Way.
Colorado COVID relief.
Yeah, and the Colorado COVID relief. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Resolution 20-16 has been approved. I would move that we adopt resolution 20-17, again appropriating the sum of $14,400. The revenue source is capital outlay fund balance, and that is for the additional rooftop unit air conditioning that we had to install this summer.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-17. Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kenda.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Flower votes aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 20-17 has been approved. Adopted, I'm sorry.
I move we adopt resolution 20-18 appropriating funds of money from a revenue source of the AWAS grant proceeds for $250,000.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-18 in the amount of $250,000. Again, this is a grant pass-through money from CDOT for the AWAS project. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kenda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Flower votes aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 20-18 has been adopted.
Point of order, sir.
Go ahead.
If there are 3 people voting and all vote in favor, are you still supposed to ask any opposed? How can we be opposed? We voted for.
Yeah, on a roll call vote, it's probably not necessary. On a voice vote,
I'm just curious.
yeah, you would do that because
You're right.
the chairman may or may not have heard a voice vote. A roll call vote's a little more exact, so your points will take it.
Okay, I move we adopt resolution 20-19 appropriating funds to the sum of $60,777 from the capital outlay fund.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-19, again, appropriating a sum of $60,777 capital outlay fund balance for the system upgrade for the assessor, the treasurer, and the finance office for that software. Discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, proceed to vote. Commissioner Kenda?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Flower? Aye. Vote is unanimous. Motion carries.
I didn't mean to change it. I was just curious if that was a rule of order or I just didn't know.
No, it's not. Voice vote it would be. I would move that we adopt resolution 20-20 appropriating the sum of 38,900. I'm sorry.
It's like 389.
$389,250. Again, a pass-through grant primarily out of the general fund for the coronavirus relief.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 20-20. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kenda?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
I didn't mean to change your rhythm.
I know, it's just a rhythm. That's all. That's all it is.
I know.
Resolution 20-20 has been adopted.
I'll move accept,
Adopt.
I should say, resolution 20-21, appropriation of $45,750,000 pass-through grant funding for the coronavirus relief fund.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt 20-20, resolution 20-21, appropriating the sum of $45,750. Revenue source, again, is the coronavirus relief fund. This would bring that total to 434. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Cannon.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Flower votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 20-21 has been adopted. Ms. Kelly, you okay?
Yep, I'm good.
Got all that? Okay, that was the last resolution we had to adopt, so I just wanted to make sure unless you had any questions.
No, everything's good there.
All right, thank you. Okay, any additional items of business to come before the Board of County Commissioners?
Not for me, sir.
Nor do I. We have a public comment period. We'll welcome any comments that you want to bring before the commissioners. Hearing none, I want to thank everybody that took the time out of their day to join us. We appreciate that. We know the whole Zoom thing is not the most ideal. We discussed that earlier. Nobody wants to get out of this situation more than the commissioners, and the commissioners will make that decision when the time is appropriate, in their opinion. Thank you all for joining us. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
All right, I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, opposed. Meeting is adjourned. See, that's why, right there.